Slow Blacksmith Life in Another World Volume 2 I'm Earl's House Uproar. Chapter 41, Suspicious Sign. The day has come to go to town. Today we will go to Camilo's shop to wholesale the goods and pick up the beddings, then we'll head home afterwards. I'm concerned about the condition of Marius's sword though, so I would like to check on it. We then load the produced items in the cart. Although I did not work on blacksmithing for a week, it has a larger load than usual, so it is pretty heavy. Me and Reich almost made a mistake when pulling it. As you have seen on our way home 2 weeks ago, let's be careful when going there today. Understood? Yes, leave it to me. I also decided to put a short sword on my waist. I remade Helen's previous short sword by hitting it again. Since its sharpness is more than enough, it will be useful for self-defense. We move on more carefully than usual. It's unlikely that a wolf or a bandit would think that an ordinary person would pass through a place like this, but there's nothing wrong about being careful. After a short break on the way, we came to the forest exit we normally go by. Once there, we stop and look around for a moment. How is it? I don't feel any presence. If there's someone else's presence, I can't feel it as well. However, if an expert erases his presence, I won't be able to know. I don't think it's possible for bandits to be able to do such thing, but it would be dangerous if there was someone who could do that. I asked Samia who can't smell odor, as it's something that can't be erased easily here. I can't feel it too. There is no smell of blood or smell of people around here either. If that's the case, it's good. Let's be careful on the road as well. Okay. I can't overlook such presence, so we go on the road at a speed in which we can respond quickly if something goes wrong. Since we were being careful, we walked slower than usual, but we arrived safely in the town. The guard standing at the gate today is still not Marius. He's the colleague who came to buy a sword with Marius before. Hello. Oh, it's you guys. Hello. Recently, I haven't seen Marius-san. Did something happen? I asked straightforwardly. It doesn't seem to make much sense if I say it in a roundabout manner. That he went to the capital for a while. The colleague answered in vague words. Well, if it is difficult to answer, it can't be helped. I'll just hear it from others. Is that so? No, I was worried about the condition of the sword, you see. If you are interested, please go to Camilo's store for consultation. Oh, I see. I've used it a few times, but it's still okay for now. I see. That's good then. I responded with a smile, but I also felt relieved in my heart. The thing I made was used, and on top of that, my acquaintance seemed to be safe. Regardless whether the opponent is big or small, they won't be left unscathed. It's a weapon for that purpose. However, if in reality, someone was hurt using my work, I can't just look away either. I think I have to take this in and be able to digest it properly, instead of looking away or becoming insensitive about it. Such determination resides in my heart, and then I continued talking to that colleague. By the way, I saw traces of blood around the forest about 1 hour from here 2 weeks ago. There are also traces that something seemed to be dragged inside the forest. Oh. Yeah, occasionally, there were reports like that. For that, we are increasing the number of patrols recently too, but if you see something again, please tell me when you come next time. Okay, then please give my best regards to Marius-san. The guards in this town are much more diligent than what I think after all. Maybe they are treated well. We nodded to that colleague and entered the town. Today, there are many wagons and people pulling carts on the main street, so it is so lively. Camilo's store is just off the main street, so when we turn to that side, the number of people is extremely reduced. It's not that it's dark or extremely narrow, it's just that it's not a place where people without particular business wander around aimlessly. We proceed while pulling the cart with clanking sounds there. Then we arrived at Camilo's store in no time. We put the cart near the warehouse and from there, we call out to the people on the store. When the door of the warehouse is opened, we placed the cart inside and asked for Camilo. We were guided to the business discussion room on the second floor, I don't really know what Camilo calls it, and wait for Camilo there. It wasn't long before Camilo and Clark-san, that's what I call him internally, came. After entering, the first thing Camilo said was, "Did I keep you waiting?" "No, not at all. Are the goods the same as usual?" "Yeah. I have placed the knives, both long and short swords, in the warehouse. It's not enough for 2 weeks, but it's a little more than a week's worth." "Well, you can't just leave the surplus." "No, your works were sold out in 2 weeks. I'll take the ones you brought with you." "I see. Thank you. And by the way, did you acquire the beddings?" "There is no problem in that." "Was it 2 sets?" "About that. I want 3 sets if you have it." By the time I made the bed, I had completely forgotten about the guest room, so I didn't have enough bedding for that room. "Well, even if there's no extra here today, I'll get it next time, or I can go to the flea market and buy it." "Oh sure, there should be some in stock." "Then, is it the usual iron ores, charcoal, salt and wine?" "Sorry. That really helps." "What?" "We are friends, you know." The talk ended there. Then Camilo glanced at Clark-san, who nodded back and left the room. When I saw that Clark-san has left the room, I began to talk. "By the way, Camilo, is there something going on here in town?" "Why?" "I heard that the guard I get acquainted with went to the capital for a while now but haven't returned yet. Even though they say that the guard protecting this town went to the capital, it's not like he's going to other city. Even if it's visiting one's parents, it won't take that long, is it? I'm a little worried because that person has taken care of various things for me, he also bought my knife and the like." "I see." Camilo thinks about my words. It's to the point where he's almost brooding. It's the same as confessing that he knew something. "Well, he's a merchant, so I'm sure he would know about it." A rather heavy silence fills the room. Eventually, Camilo told me a little about it. "Right now, there's something suspicious in the capital. Rather than saying that it's from the king, it's from another high-ranking noble below him. It seems like something will happen around there. So maybe the guards have something to do with that area. Anything more than this, I won't be able to say it to you." "I see. Sorry for that." "Thank you anyway." "Don't worry about it. Honestly, just don't delve on this matter too much." "Okay, I understand." Leaving that aside, since the information isn't really disclosed, the information fee is free, right? "Why yeah. The way you put it, you're not bad as a merchant." After saying so, Camilo and I laugh at each other. We mutually wished that we won't get caught up in the capital's mess. Chapter 42, Dark Clouds. Apart from that, I had a little talk with Camilo before we left Camilo's store. So for today, just like that, we're now going back home. Marius's case doesn't look like to be something I can help with. Well, I'm only a blacksmith. I had everything I needed to replenish at Camilo's store, so I didn't have to buy anything else. Buying seeds or something to sow in the field would be done once the field is already suitable. It's been 2 weeks since I came here, so I thought that the iron ores would be for 2 weeks worth. But considering that we'll only do blacksmithing for a week, the iron stones and charcoals loaded in the cart are only for a week's worth. As he had forethought such things, Camilo may have been successful as a merchant because of that. When we left the town, the guard there was the one I saw in the morning. Well, it's only normal to say that because it hasn't been that long since I went to Camilo's store. We pass by while slightly bowing to him. After going out on the main road, the route we took is the same as usual, but we are still being careful. The wind that blows on the prairie that extends as far as the eye can see, feels good as it is hot while we are pulling the cart. It makes me feel like I want to rest, but there's no point in doing that. When you feel good like this, you want to rest, right? When I said so. If it's safe, it's a nice day to have picnic too. Yeah, I can see that I do feel relaxed. Both Rike and Samia agreed. Well, that's right. However, it's hard to say that we can't have a leisurely lunch here. At least, let's go on while enjoying the pleasant weather. Then, when we were about to enter the forest, Samia stopped. From the appearance of her round ears, it seems that she can hear something as they were busy twitching. I then speak to Samia. Is it a bandit? I don't know. It sounds like they are fighting though. It's just a little bit ahead. Samia quickly glanced at us as she said so. It's as if she's wondering if she should go or not. All right, Samia, go ahead and look at what's happening there. If bandits or wolves are attacking someone, don't hesitate to help them. We'll catch up as soon as possible. If it's dangerous, please escape over here. Understood. Samia nods. She takes off her boots and starts running. As a tiger beastman, she can demonstrate her true potential with that. She's fast and there's almost no sound. Now then, we'll hurry too. Yes. Rike and I pull the cart with all our might. The vibration will increase, but not that much where the balance is lost and the vehicle will roll over. It was good that we're on the main road. If this was inside the forest or in an unmaintained road, we would not have been able to achieve this speed. Since the cargo is basically tied together, I believe that it is okay to speed up. It feels like a ridiculously long time to me, although it's only a few minutes. Then my ears can now also hear the sound of multiple people fighting fiercely. Oh, well. Rike, let's leave this here temporarily. Follow me. Yes. However, when we arrive at the scene, stay a little further away, okay? Understood. Since she's just here on a journey, Rike can do something to protect herself, but beyond that, she would find it tough. Regardless of having my custom model knife, she couldn't cut someone unless she hits him, so I ask her not to be directly involved in the battle. We parked the cart, then Rike and I started running towards the sound. Shortly after we started running, I saw the scene. About 3 men are attacking Samia and a woman. Samia is using her bow and arrow, while the woman is using a long sword as she fights against the men. However, I can see that the woman's movements are getting slow and she is about to receive a blow. I then pull out the short sword on my waist. What are you doing, you lots? I shouted at the top of my voice. Then the men's line of sight turned towards me. Hey, get rid of him. One of the men said, and one of them rushed towards me. I did my best to slash him from an overhead position. The man received my sword with his own sword, but I think the impact is more than he had expected, as he couldn't return it back and he stopped moving for a moment. I didn't miss that opening and used that momentum to slash him. My second strike was aimed at the man's torso. The blade sinks into the middle of the man's torso as he was not able to respond to it. With a guu, the man spits up blood from his mouth. I pulled the sword out of the man's torso and aimed my sword towards the two remaining ones without checking if the man died or not. If the other two tries to escape, they can't run away. Their numerical advantage has been reversed, so that's what one would normally do. Shit. However, the other two didn't run away and one of them just cursed then rushed towards me. The women are already exhausted, even though she's a tiger beastman. Samia is also a woman. I think that if I get rid of one, they can still manage. I pulled out the knife with one hand while the other person was closing in on me. A short sword in one hand and a knife in the other. The opponent didn't seem to be wary of the knife that I had pulled out, and without warning, he sweeps sideways, so I took my knife a little away from my body so that the blade is at the right angle. No, it is a little misleading to say that I received it. The opponent's sword is cut off completely from the point where it touches my knife. Thanks to that, it's an empty swing and I didn't receive any impact. And just like the first man, I swing my short sword and the blade slashed into the middle of his torso. Now, only one person remains. With a thud, I heard the sound of something that has fallen. The last one tried to escape, but Samia shot an arrow. The released arrow pierced his body and the last one also fell to the ground. That wouldn't be normal, but that arrowhead is my specially made product. I focused my consciousness, but I can't feel any other presence. It would be troublesome if there were others who remained, but it seems that there is no such thing. I patted my chest in relief and called right then we ran towards Samia and the woman. T. Chapter 43, Circumstances. Are you injured? I asked Samia after we ran towards her and the woman. No. Neither I nor this person is injured. That's good. I'm relieved and looked at the woman. In spite of saving her, it's possible that this woman did something bad and the men that we had defeated were someone like the authorities. Did I just kill? For the first time, I used the ones I made myself according to the meaning of what they were really made for. Naturally, I don't have any experience in killing people in the previous world. Before I slashed them, I was worried that I would have some conflicting emotions, but maybe with the help of the ability I got from the cheat, I could easily slash them. Well, there's surely something dull and heavy in my heart, but it's not regret or fear. On the contrary, it just feels weird. If you don't know what your action is for, there would be some blaming if someone got hurt afterwards. What's wrong, Aizu? Did you get hurt? Samia looks into my face with concern. No, I'm not injured either. Thank you. I returned an awkward smile. Well then, young lady. I asked the woman who was attacked. She didn't have anything on her shiny golden hair. I didn't look at it carefully, so it looked like an ordinary travel clothes at first glance. It was hard to notice it with her cloak on, but she wore a breastplate, chain mails and even shin guards. No, she probably only have the minimum equipments to make it look like she's going on a normal trip. If she closes the front of her cloak, the armored parts are hardly seen. Young lady, can you tell me who are you and as to why you were attacked? I know you have your own circumstances. Though I don't know why you don't want to talk about it, but if there is no reason for this number of people to be crossed, we will be in trouble if we are cross-examined by the guards. So, if it could help us, can you tell me about it? The woman stared into my eyes. It was a pair of beautiful amber eyes. She has a striking facial features, for me and probably even for the others in this world, she can't be called as a beautiful woman. However, her looks felt familiar. Was it an actress of a Western movie in my previous world? First of all, thank you for your help. Perhaps the woman decided to speak, so after a little while, she started talking. I'm Diana Emerl. I lived in the capital, but due to so many things, I decided to go to the place of a certain person. However, when I arrived here, those pursuers strongly hunted me down. You know what would have happened if you didn't rush here. She has a family name, huh? If so, is this one of the various things that might be caused by the high-ranking noble that has Camilo said? If this young lady is lying. I then glanced at Samia, but she shook her head. Apparently, she was not lying. I see. I understand the situation. Then, what should we do with this? I looked at the corpses which are left a little further away. If we are to hide them, we should do it now. If we dawdle here, the patrol will come. On the other hand, if we were to inform them, we have to wait for the patrol to come. I'm a little scared of myself as I can't think calmly here, but I can't stay still either. Let's hide them. As I am hesitating, the woman Diana said so. Will that be okay? Well, they are not ordinary bandits. Right. They are after me, so they can't be driven back for now, and I can't earn time to identify that person. You mean, you should be able to go to that certain person's place in the meantime, huh? Yes. Then, her pursuers are not limited to those bad guys. But since they came to this point, were they also in the ship she got on? Okay, let's put them inside the forest. Reich, sorry, but please pull the cart for the meantime. Understood. I instructed Reich to do that, but I won't put the corpse in the cart in particular. While Reich is going to get the cart, we will also bring the corpse into the forest. Samia, give us a hand too. Okay. I'm sorry. What are you saying? It's too late for that, you know. Alongside with Diana, we only hold the arm of the corpse and drag it inside the forest. That way it would be hard to tell if it's the work of the wolves, and we won't get stained with blood either. Well, I did not expect that we will be doing the very thing that I just talked about a while ago though. As we drag it with all our might, it didn't take that long. About half an hour later, it's now in the state that we witnessed 2 weeks ago. It was just in the border, but it was still inside the forest. The patrol guards won't even look into it. And by that time, Reich also came back while pulling the cart. All right, let's go home then. But before that, Diana-san, can you tell me about that person? I may be able to help, you see. When I said so, Diana looked hesitant. Well, even though I saved her life, it's not like she can easily tell it to a man she does not know. But eventually, she opened her mouth. That person was referred by my brother, but he lives in a remote place. Ho ho. There are other people like me, huh? Recently, I heard that he was close to this area. Hetilda, isn't that a situation similar to mine? That person piqued my interest a little. He's a very good blacksmith. HN. My brother's favorite knife and sword were forged by that person's hand, you see. When the current matter is solved, he said that he will ask him to adjust them. That. Diana-san. Is your older brother perhaps a guard in the town ahead? Is he called Marius? I reflexively asked in a polite tone. Yes. Marius Albert Emerl is my brother. Why? Do you know him? Diana replied with a dazed look. Chapter 44, Giving Refuge. Diana-san. Yes. That someone that your older brother told you is probably me. Diana had a dubious look. Well, that's to be expected. The person who helped her was actually the person she was looking for. There is no such convenient story after all. If I were to be in the same situation, I wouldn't say, "Oh, is that so?" That's convenient. But there's no mistake, that's certainly the case, so it can't be helped. Our house is inside this black forest. They won't come here unless it's quite necessary. Since Diana-san is running away, it's probably the best place to hide. To meet that man, my brother told me that I should first rely on a merchant called Camilo. There's no doubt about it then. I'm the only one who wholesale merchandise to Camilo here. Besides, only Camilo and one other person know my place. Actually, Helen came to us directly and knew our exact location, so if it came from her, it would be a different story. Speaking of that, I don't think she's that kind of person who would divulge it. I could only think of the two of them though. Can't you tell me your name? Diana said while staring at me. Well, yeah, having said that, I haven't introduced my name yet. I'm sorry. I am Izu. This beastman is Samia and this dwarf is Reich. Samia and Reich bowed slightly. I did not introduce Tanya alongside my name for now. Izu-san. Diana repeats my name. I wonder if she's pondering whether she knows me or if she's trying to remember. Well, I won't understand it just by looking at her. For the time being, since we were able to beat those pursuers, you earned about 2 days' time, right? In that case, why don't you come to my house for 1 day? I urged Diana. It doesn't matter that we're dawdling here. It's not that impossible to explain the situation when the patrol comes, but it's a hassle to do so in the first place. And I'm pretty certain that if something goes wrong, we will fall into an unforeseen situation. I understand. Thank you for your help today. All right. Well then, Samia, be on your guard in the surrounding area. Me and Reich will pull the cart. Diana-san, if possible, watch the surrounding area with Samia. I understand. Please take good care of me, Samia-san. Okay. Thus like that, we start moving. As expected, we couldn't enter the forest from here as it is, so we entered the forest after going on about 15 more minutes than the usual place we enter. Then after about half an hour since we entered the forest, I called out to everyone. Should we take a break for a moment? Okay. Yes. Understood. The 3 people replied back. I gave Diana some water, then I called Samia. Samia, come here for a second. HN. What is it? Samia came right away. Do you know if we are being followed? I don't feel anything, you see. I talked to Samia in a soft voice. No, it's unlikely. There is no smell or presence. Samia immediately replied back. As Samia said that, she was concentrating and her nose was even sniffing the area. Is that so? That's good. I was wondering what to do if there is a guy who was watching us from a distance and we are being followed, but apparently, that was not the case. Even though we have a large number of people and cart with us, with the obstructed view inside this forest, I think it's going to be quite difficult to follow us, but there's no harm in being extremely cautious. Then after that, we still proceeded with caution, so it took 1.5 times as much than the usual time we get back home. Diana-san, I'm sorry, but let me unload our luggage first. Of course, I don't mind. Shall I also help? Well, though she's a guest, she's not a customer, so this much should be fine, right? I won't let her do some blacksmithing work either. It's just like the saying, those who don't work should not eat. I'll ask for your help then. I'll tell you where to take it. Yes. So with Diana's help, we brought the iron ores and charcoal to the workshop, then the salt and other things inside the house. Perhaps due to Diana's help, I sorted it out a little faster than usual. I then place each bedding on the beds that has no beddings yet. Now all the beds can be used. Samia and Reich then carried their bedroom luggage into their room. Otherwise I can't move to the bedroom and I can't let Diana have the guest room. While watching such scene. It's a small house, but please be patient with it for a while. I said to Diana. No. There was such a place in the Black Forest, huh? She replied while being impressed. Well, as your brother had said, I've just recently settled in here though. It seems like they're done with it, so let me show you the guest room. Yes. I then guide her to the guest room, former study. The bed has a headboard with built-in drawers, so it looks a little nice. I'm glad I put it on. It's not such a luxurious room. Well, originally, I didn't expect to have a guest in such manner. I'd appreciate it if you think it's comfortable considering it's a blacksmith's house. No, that's not the case. I think it's more than a splendid room. For the time being, it's a good idea to take off your equipment and remove the dust from your trip. I'll have Samia and Reich bring some hot water for you later. I'm sorry, I appreciate that. I waved my hand and left the room. Well then, what should I do from here on? I need to ask Diana a little more about it, but once I did that, I can't probably go back. After listening to the story, Diana looks like a noble lady, but I'm worried, as even to a blacksmith like me, she is low profile and polite. Her older brother Marius, she. Was it just because I talked to him? Even so, she was also polite when she talked to Samia. Anyway, I have to ask Diana about it after the dinner is over. I then head to my new bedroom where I had to clean off the dust. Chapter 45, Talks on the Capital. I undressed and boiled water for 4 people. After we freshened up in our own rooms, we head to the dining room for dinner. Our supper is salted boneless rib meat, wild boar, lentil-like bean soup, unfermented bread and wine. Well, that's because there's a lot of people at home right now. But, will it suit Diana's taste? I'm sorry, I only have this much. I hope it suits your taste. I thought she would timidly put it into her mouth, but Diana put it in her mouth without hesitation. How is it? Seeing that, rather than her, I was the one who got nervous. It's delicious. Diana replied with her amber eyes shining. But, perhaps she noticed that the people around her were surprised. Sorry. She looked dejected right away. No, it's good if it fits your taste. We were just worried whether it would fit young ladies' taste. That sort of, calling me young lady is a bit. Well, it's best to eat delicious food. If the food is bad, you won't feel like doing anything, you see. I told the truth. Even when I had a hard time working in the previous world, it would have been better if I could eat delicious food. Aizu, have you ever eaten something like that too? Samia gets on this topic. Well, yeah, many times. Is that so? I thought that Aizu had only eaten delicious food all this time. That's not really the case. For example, I started talking about the previous world without realizing it. In this way, our dinner today was lively with the topic of what were the unpalatable foods we've eaten. Diana also heard that there's a delicacy and ate it without knowing what the meat was. She was excited to talk about how bad it was. At the end of such a fun dinner, I started the conversation. I was a little hesitant whether or not to ask her about the details, but it will be better if I ask here. Well then, can you tell us why Diana-san was forced to leave the city? Diana was a little hesitant, but soon. I understand. Then. She talked about it haltingly. Diana and Marius's parents' home is around the territory next to ours. Count Imel governs that territory including the area around the town we goes to. Count Imel has 3 sons and 1 daughter, of course Diana. The 3 sons are Rion, the eldest brother, Karl, the second elder brother, and Marius, the 3rd son. Naturally, it was supposed to be the eldest brother, Rion, who will succeed the Count's reign. About a month ago, Count Imel and Rion went out with their private troops to subdue a swarm of monsters that allegedly appeared near the border. Originally, Rion aside, even the Count didn't have to leave, but it seems that the Count was going to retire completely and let Rion take over all of his authority. And it seems that some demonstration would be meaningful. Putting it the other way around, they must have assumed that the subjugation of the monsters that appeared would not be a big deal even if the army was not moved out and only the private soldiers with the Count and the successor himself went out. However, such expectation was completely betrayed. Both the Count and Rion were killed, and the private army was also annihilated and some fled. According to the information of the one who barely escaped alive, a strong monster has defeated everyone. However, when Marius returned after receiving the bad news, there were some suspicious points. From the perspective of Marius, who has seen numerous hacked bodies as a god, neither the Count nor Rion seem to have suffered any claws or fangs, and in the first place, was the monster outbreak itself true? From that point of view, Marius judged that there's something fishy. On top of that, Karl is the most suspicious one when that happened, but of course he won't show his true color that easily. If they kept still, the right to succeed the family would naturally go to Karl. However, there is a big problem. Examining the records, Karl and Marius had a reverse order on the succession. Since Karl is concubine-born and Marius is a child from the main wife, the order of succession changed when Marius was born. The fact was recorded by a registrar, but all 4 were raised as children of the main wife in the house because the woman who was Karl's mother died when she gave birth. Since it became like that, Karl tried to lay the blame on this and that on Marius in order for him to have the right to succeed. But, of course, Marius was a guard in another town before and after that. It would be very difficult for him to take command if there is such scheme. So for now, their standoff continues, and the current situation in the capital is that Karl sometimes makes a mess with Marius. However, if this takes too long and if the Count of Imel is absent for a long time, that title will be deprived. Well, that's probably it, so it seems that it is about time for one of them to start moving. Diana was targeted because she is also a child of the main wife, so if for example, she takes a nobleman from somewhere to become their son-in-law, her inheritance rights may change at that point, so it seems that the plan is to eliminate that now. So Marius, probably, left her to me. He tried to keep her safe until he managed to get rid of Karl, but it was just that when he sent her out, Karl sensed that, so he also sent someone to attack her. Well, that's the gist of all of this. I thought about it. With that being the case, keeping Diana here will not only be a week or 2. It's fine with me, but I wonder if Diana can bear it. Both Marius and Diana are members of the Count family after all. However, now I understand why Marius she has skillful judgment for a mere guard and as to why he is familiar with the inner workings inside the city walls. Capital H. How should I put it? I understand Marius-san and Diana-san's situation. Furthermore, it's okay to keep Diana in my house, but will that be okay for Diana-san? Since I knew that she is a noble, normally, it might be better to lower my back, but it's too late to change my posture now, so I'll leave it as it is. What do you mean by if it's okay with me? No. After this matter is over, if they found out that you, the daughter who is of the right age, is at a blacksmith's house, even though there are other women who come to live with you, wouldn't that be inappropriate for a noble? My brother handles that area well, so Izu-san don't need to worry about that. Well, after that, this lifestyle may last for a week or two, would that be okay? Even in such a very short time, I came to know that both Samiya and Rike are good people, so I'm not worried. Of course, Izu-san too. In that case, she doesn't mind being kept in the house, huh? Then, the rest would be if you'll really be fine to be kept at home. I realized that when I came here. I don't think that there is a better place to hide than here though, so there's no mistake about it. Well, in that case, tentatively then. It's not that I'm unwilling, but if it's in a different place, it's almost the same as kidnapping. If only there was something we could know. I murmured that, then Diana responded to my words. By the way, I was keeping a letter for Camilo-san. If we read it, will we understand? Yes, maybe. But I don't want to look into a letter addressed to others. No, it's about me, so it's fine. I'll go get it. Diana-san quickly stands up and goes to the guest room. As I look at it, I thought that she might like the life here and so on. Chapter 46, Letter and Moving Forward. Diana brought the letter. Well, in this world, there's no such thing as the crime of opening someone else's letter like in the previous world. Just in case, there is no emblem on the wax seal. I opened the envelope with a knife. Camilo Dorno, I think you know the general situation of what is happening in the capital, so I addressed this to you. That's how the beginning of the letter was written. The things I heard from Diana earlier was also written in its content. And towards the end. For that, I want to leave my sister, Diana, to a certain person. I don't know where he lives, but he is the blacksmith who crafted my sword. I heard that he lives in a remote place. It would be better to hide at his place. He said that he sells merchandise to you, so can you please keep my sister until he comes? So that's how it is. There's a little continuation after that, but reading it till there is good enough for the time being. With this, it's confirmed. Marius intended to leave Diana to us, so we saved one effort. Furthermore, the fact that Diana doesn't have to go to Camilo makes it harder for them to trace her, so this may have been just right. By the time they noticed that the pursuers were annihilated, her traces have already disappeared. Everyone nods when they heard my words. In that sense, I'll have Diana-san stay here for a while. Since there are no trees around the house, it's okay for you to hang around there alone. But if it's farther than that, take me or Samiya with you. Otherwise you will be eaten by the wolves. Understood? If it's difficult to talk to a man, talk to Samiya or Rike. Please treat me well. Diana bows towards Samiya and Rike. Yeah, don't hesitate to ask. Samiya replied with a smile. Alright, I'm sorry to ask you this. Diana-san, why do you treat ordinary people like us that politely? I'm not saying it's not good, but since you're a noble, you can't be less formal to us, you know. I asked her what I was curious about. Though that's preposterous of me, I'll just play innocent. Because you guys are my lifesaver. From now on, you'll live here and maybe you'll even stay longer so you can act less formally. If possible, it would be better if you act casually. I think that way, we can live comfortably and smoothly. I understand. No, I see. Since you said so, I'll do so. Yeah, do that. Good grief. This made me feel like I'm getting a little closer to a laid-back life. I don't think that I can relax since I gave shelter to a petite refugee though. All right then, today was tiring, right? Let's go to sleep now. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I get a reply from the three people. In this way, today's event was finally over. The next morning, the first person who got up was me as I'll go fetch water. Reich once tried to say, that's a disciple's job. She tried to do it but I felt like I wouldn't move much without doing that, besides I've been doing it all the time. It's about half an hour going and coming back from there. On the way back, the 2 jars will be filled with water so it will be a decent exercise. When I came back, Samia and Reich were already awake. It was normal for the 3 of us to wash our faces with the water I had drawn. But from today, with Diana joining us, 4 people wash their face and brush their teeth together. Then the women did the laundry while I'm preparing the breakfast. Since it is impossible to cook egg dishes while baking bread in the toaster, just like the ones in the previous world, they can't do enough laundry during that preparation period. The detergent is made by saving the ash from the burned charcoal and putting it in a special bottle with water. It seems that it was also used as a detergent in the previous world, and yeah, it makes sense in its own way. If I look for it, there should also be a soap-like plants that contains active substance used to manufacture soap here. But, looking for it is a matter for the future. Our breakfast is barley porridge and salted meat soup. I made a generous amount of this soup so that we have more portion for our lunch and supper. This will also reduce the effort on cooking as much as possible. While the 4 people for a while from today, have a boisterous meal, setting the schedule for the day is also one of the important parts during breakfast. From this day, I decided to make short swords and long swords for 3 days. In this is the case, Samia can teach Diana. While Samia teaches her, the 2 of them can make molds by applying some clay to the wooden molds. I may have to buy or find clay soon. If there is a lake and water spring here, it means that there is an impermeable layer, so if we dig till we have the clay layer, we could use it. Even if it feels like a soil mixed with clay, it is sufficient enough for its purpose. Well anyway, this is also postponed for now. The subsequent process does not change. It's just that with Diana here, the number of assistants has increased. Samia and Diana will do the deburring. Diana even has a good aptitude in swinging the hammer despite being a noble's daughter. When she ran away, she was wearing a breastplate and she managed to defend against her pursuers alone until we rushed to help her in the first place, so I think that she has confidence in her swordsmanship. After that, me and Reich will finish it. Meanwhile, Samia and Diana are ready for the next one. The result of this day was quite good. It's as efficient as before, but there's nothing wrong with that because there's one person who is not used to it. Diana was interested in the newly made longsword, so I allowed her to try swinging it. It seems to fall behind compared with my cheat, but she has learned swordsmanship well, so it starts to look appropriate. You're quite good. Thank you, but I still don't feel like I can beat the Izu at that time. She was referring to that time when I helped her. Izu looks like this but he's strong. Samia joins in. The looks like this part is unnecessary, you know. I opened my mouth and argued but boss, you won't usually think that blacksmiths are so strong, right? When Rike's supporting statement went to Samia, I deliberately dropped my shoulders and I laughed together with everyone. Chapter 47, Practice. The next day. Yesterday, me and Rike both made general model ones, so for today, I'll be making the high-end model and Rike will make the general model. That said, the procedures and personnel, including Diana, remains the same. The work will be shared by 4 people. Diana's skill is much better than yesterday, probably because she did it several times yesterday. I looked at the short swords that Diana practiced on and things like the uneven parts have decreased considerably. All I have to do is carefully hit those uneven parts to eliminate it. The troublesome part is that if I seriously erase it, the item gets closer to a custom model one. It can't be sold within a short notice, that somehow its power approaches the thing that I seriously made, so I need to keep it within the range of a high-end model one. I stopped hitting it after a while, then finish the quenching, sharpening, and polishing part. When I checked the finished product, it looks like that of a high-end model. The material of the sword made by Diana is much better than yesterday, but of course it is still an amateur's work. However, if I applied my cheat ability from there, I can't typically bring it to the quality of a high-end model one. That's great. Diana talked to me as I was checking the quality of the high-end model short sword. Oh my, that is. This is different compared to the one I made yesterday. This short sword is slightly better. It sells at a higher price than that one from yesterday. Can't I look at it? Yeah, no problem. But I haven't finished its grip yet. Diana scrutinized the high-end model short sword. If I'm not mistaken, it was also like this when I first showed it to Rike before. It's amazing. Right. I was surprised when I first saw it too. For some reason, Rike feels proud. Yes, there are only a few blacksmiths in the city that can make it. Diana says so, full of admiration. To put it the other way around, there are some people who can make it, so even if it goes to the market, it's just a good weapon. In fact, Helen had something close to our high-end model ones. The one I made is just slightly better, maybe. That said, if in the future I increase the number of times I hit my works, it may mean someone will say who crafted this, so let's just do it moderately. When we made about the same number as yesterday, Diana started talking. Izu-san. Can I ask for a match? With me? Yes. Using swords? Of course. Is Diana also a battle junkie? Well, it's fine if it's for recreation. When I glanced at the window, the sun is about to set. All right then. It's about to get dark, so we'll do it only once. Thank you. Why does she look so happy? We can't afford to have any mishap here, so we'll use the general model swords. Well, if you got seriously hit even by an iron rod, you won't get away unscathed. I can't argue if others say that it's just for my peace of mind, but still, the degree of injury when you are hit would be completely different. As expected, there are various problems if we do it inside the workplace, so we went outside before facing each other. Samia and Rike also came out to serve as spectators. We matched the tip of our swords, bow, and took distance from each other. You can't come at me anytime. I called out comfortably, but Diana had a serious look. She puts up her sword and gradually shorten the distance between us. I also languidly take my sword stance and wait for her move. Diana suddenly rushes forward at a speed that makes her seem to disappear. With that momentum, she swings her sword aiming around my neck. I flipped up my sword that I loosely lowered, then using its return force, I aim at Diana's shoulder as she rushed towards me. Ugh! This time Diana uses the returning force of her repelled sword to hit mine and somehow dodge my attack. I move my body to the side where my sword was flicked to slightly widen our gap. Diana also comes chasing after me. Diana's every movements are agile and accurate. Looks like this isn't the place for a simple swordsmanship. Guess it can't be helped then. Oh, Aizu is getting a little serious. I could hear Samiya saying that. Yeah, just a little. Phew. From there, I keep on striking Diana, on the shoulder, on the torso, on the head and on the legs. Diana, who was able to respond at first, is gradually becoming unable to keep up. Seeing that chance, I set up a feint and aimed at her torso. Ah! I barely did it, but she somehow falls for my feint. I then aim at her neck just as her arms were lowered. I stopped just before it touches her. It's my win. You're fine with this, right? Yes. With this, our match ended with my victory. I haven't moved my body this much for a long time. I'm rejuvenated at the age of 30, and although I just usually move my body by fetching water and blacksmithing, this old body of mine can still endure almost all of my strength after all. This time I also moved the parts that I don't usually use. During the attack the day before yesterday, I was concentrating to kill, so there was less unnecessary movements, so it wasn't up to this point. Aizu-san, you're still not completely serious, right? Diana looks at me grudgingly. Well, yeah. I only get completely serious when there is a life-threatening situation, you see. You were not that serious, but I couldn't fight evenly against you at all. No. Diana-san did quite well too. That is my honest impression. I think it is enough if you're learning more than you can. When I get associated with Aizu-san, I who was called as the rose of the swordsmanship now went to just fairly skilled. I feel like there is a misunderstanding somewhere here. Samiya. What? Am I that strong? What are you talking about? I think you're insanely strong, you know. I've tried at least 100 times and never won. Yup. Then Reich spoke too. In the first place, I think you have a considerable skill, especially at the time when you parried Helen's sword. Is that so? I always thought that Helen was just going easy on me. I also thought that the cheat I got was only the minimum for self-defense. But, was there a story about self-defense that is enough to defeat a bear? Well, I can't live in this forest without that much power though. Is that Helen, perhaps that lightning sword Helen? While I'm still shocked, Diana asks that. Why yeah, I'm sure she did say that. You were able to stand against Helen's sword. I think our match took about half an hour. That long? What that long? Is Helen such an insanely strong child? Though I thought that she is strong too. Lightning sword Helen, her sword speed is too fast, so she got that alias. That was also why she is famous as a mercenary, even among nobles, you see. Diana explained. I haven't even recovered from my shock yet. You are fine even after receiving Helen's sword, and you even have a match. Diana seems to be experiencing another surprise. She looks down and is thinking about something. Well, since it's over, let's go back inside the house, okay? I tried to put my hand on Diana's shoulder to encourage her to go back inside, but there was no shoulder there. When I looked down, Diana is there with her legs folded, bowing down with her hands touching on the ground. I've seen this posture before. It's Dogza. There's Dogza in this world after all. I don't want to think about what could be expected after this, so I focused on looking away from it. Chapter 48, Second Disciple. Please make me your disciple. Diana asks me while still in Dogza. What's going on here? I took a quick glance at the other two and both Samir and Raik are grinning. Just you wait. If it's after work, we could practice once a day. Is that okay? Yeah. However, I did not really learn proper swordsmanship and I'm not good at teaching, so you could only watch and learn during our practice. I understand, thank you very much. Diana gets high-spirited. If she is this frolic even for something like this, she might be such a tomboy at her parents' house. Marius's hardship in his childhood comes to my mind. Anyway, this one adds to my daily routine. It won't take much time, so it's fine, but if it takes time for her to learn, I'll reconsider it. In addition. What is it? I forbid you to call me master or something that is respectful. If I don't say that first, it will end up like how Raik address me. Okay, got it. This was how I had a second disciple, though not as a blacksmith. The next day. Aside from having a disciple, I still have to hit some sword today. Until today, we will continue to make short swords and long swords. We have the same personnel and working arrangement as yesterday. Samir and Diana are in charge in casting and deburring, then Raik and I will finish it. Today I still worked on the high-end model ones and Raik on the general model ones. We made about the same number as yesterday. After that, it's training time. Even though I still have the swords we used yesterday, it's pretty dangerous to train with an iron sword, so I made 2 wooden swords by processing a wood with a knife that cuts well. Though I described it as such, there's a cheat at work here, because it is a production type weapon, so it is a little interesting that I can't make something as it is even if I made it quickly. Just like yesterday, we made a salute with our swords. Contrary to yesterday, I decided to deal with Diana's attacks today. Diana's attack is sharp and fast, probably because she is learning proper swordsmanship. I have no intention of saying that my own style is extremely powerful though. I think that proper swordsmanship is measured when you reach the point where you risk your life. But then of course, my own style that does not accumulate that experience can only be used by me. Regardless of the extent of the talent, those with proper training of swordsmanship and martial arts can become far stronger. I can't overwhelm Diana during our training because it is one-on-one. However, in an extreme case, if there are 100 people versus me, I can't win no matter how I think about it. I can't overcome that as I can't get 100 people to practice with. However, there is something that Diana can do. I think it can be strengthened in addition to the proper swordsmanship. Hopefully Diana could also develop. Well, I don't know if Diana will get there, but I'll go with her as much as possible. Perhaps because of yesterday's match, Diana right now is trying various things. Like on how can she disrupt my stance and on how can she divert my attention from where I really need to put my attention to. So far, that attempt hasn't worked because my cheats have detected it well, but I don't think that it's a wrong move. The problem is that I have no idea on how strong Diana is in this world. I don't really understand my own strength either. If it's about me being a blacksmith, there is a finished product for it and I can't tell how great it is by trying out the new swords and with my installed knowledge. But if there are only few references, I won't know if Diana is as strong as the soldiers around here or if her strength is comparable to that of a rare swordsman. Based from the feeling I got from my cheat and installed knowledge, it's better than average, but it's not clear and it's hard to grasp how much training should be done. I wonder if this would be the only issue in the future. We already had our training for a little longer than half an hour, so I'll end it there for today. How is it? Did you learn something? Not much for today. I tried a lot of things though. But I learned what to do and not to do when returning your attacks, so can't I say that I was able to grasp that? I see. Well, let's do it slowly. When I said that, Diana looked blank for a moment, but soon. Yes. She replied with a smile. We'll make knives the next day onwards. Samia was now able to do it halfway, but we also have Diana here, so I asked them to collect fruits and the likes instead. Well, those two should be fine. Just in case, I told them to come back immediately if there are any sign of people. Me and Reich made sheet metals by stretching and shaping it. The efficiency is a little lower, but the quality is naturally maintained. Since we don't have assistants, I'll do the high-end model from the very beginning, same with Reich for the general model ones. In addition, at this time, through observation, I have Reich learn the places where I hit to make the high-end model ones. I'll help her by letting her steal the technique. How is it? I still don't feel like catching up. Well, that's because I'm a master already, so you won't catch up in just a month or so. I say that with a laugh. Reich pouted a little. But I want to improve quickly. Then, will Reich help me tomorrow? Is that okay? Of course. If not, wouldn't it make sense that you're my disciple, right? Well, that's right. Reich says so with a troubled face, then laughed. As I have said before, I think you can go a long way. I can't say be patient, but you can't grow without rushing it out. When I said that, Reich replies with, yes boss. This time, she returned a radiant smile. Chapter 49, First Step on Teaching. As I was cleaning up the workplace, Samia and Diana came back. Being outside until this time means that no one came. I wonder if there was a lot of harvest. I'm home. Oh, welcome home, Samia and Diana. I'm home. There are quite a lot of things around here, huh? I don't live with other people, so it's no wonder that there are many things left. Samia and Diana harvested fruits like the apple-like and the raspberry-like ones that I saw before. And this time, they harvested a new fruit. It has a smooth appearance and it looks like the fig fruits in my previous world. Then, shall I serve this fig-like thing for today's dinner? I wondered if there was a lot of harvest, but in general, they didn't get that many. Well, it's a waste if they rot, and there's nothing wrong with this quantity. Diana and I moved on to practice. I think she's pretty tired, but I decided to do it today at Diana's request. The result was the same as yesterday, and it was rounded up in less than a quarter of an hour. As expected, she doesn't seem to move that well today. It doesn't make much sense if she overdoes it. I feel sorry for Diana, but it's impossible to suddenly get stronger in 2 or 3 days, so she should take her time slowly. When I said that, she was reluctantly nodding after making a blank look just like yesterday. The dinner is the usual unfermented bread, soup, and fig-like fruits. I have confirmed with Samia that this can't be eaten as it is. After cleaning up the dinner, we started working on the fig-like fruits. Its skin is thicker than that of the fig fruits in the previous world, but they can't be peeled off by hand, eaten as they are, and above all, the taste is almost like a fig. Apparently, both Rike and Diana are eating it for the first time, but they seem to like it. This feels like I've eaten it before and it's delicious. Are there a lot of these in the forest? It's not that many, but it's okay if it's enough to eat at home. I see. It feels like I want to have fun once in a while. Right. I see. The yield wasn't that great, so we won't get much harvest even if we go back there. But when we do, I would want some sugar. I want to make jam and improve the preservation of fruits. I should have looked at the price of sugar at Camilo's shop. I can't remember the price clearly because I only glanced at it. I can only recall that it was rather expensive. There is a good amount of jam that can be made here. I'll talk to Camilo when everything calms down. After that, I asked Diana about the fruits she ate in the city. I heard from Samia and Rike that there is something like watermelon before, but it seems that there are also things like strawberries and bananas. Well, I want to try it. But I hope this matter really calms down. The next day. For today, Samia and Diana went hunting. In worst case, we still have meat, so it's not really necessary to hunt one large animal. Diana usually wears clothes that have a little elaborate parts, but she wore a simple one today. She said, "I've experienced hunting several times when I was in the city, but she's still excited. Maybe she feels that hunting here would be different. I don't think hunting is something that women would like so much. Is she a tomboy after all? I'll ask that when I meet Marius next time." Rike and I are still making knives today. Rike will help me make the high-end model ones. I mean, she'll watch and learn. Well, I did promise that yesterday. I heat up the sheet metal on the fire bed and hit where there is distortion or unevenness. Rike watched intently as to what I'm looking at and where I'm hitting, so as not to miss my every move. When most of the distortion and unevenness disappeared, I showed it to Rike at once. With my current works, I reduce it this far. I can reduce it more, but let's stop it here. No, wait. No, let's do it to the end. Well, would that be fine, boss? Yeah, we'll just make one that's enough to be given to Diana. Oh, I see. All right, let's do it. Yes, please. I heat the sheet metal again on the fire bed and beat the remaining distortion and unevenness to erase it. There is almost nothing left, but if you don't hit it patiently, all of the unevenness will not be removed. I heated it several times, repeatedly hit it, and finally, every distortion disappeared. The surface is finely shining. Ultimately, you should focus up to here. Rike's eyes looking at the sheet metal were shining like sparks. She looked from corner to corner of the sheet metal that I have taken out. She stared at it as if she shouldn't miss even one molecule. What's the difference between my level and Rike's? I can recognize it at a glance with my cheat, but Rike cannot. She has to learn from here. When I judged that Rike has already taken a closer look, I did the following work. It's the work of making a shape. Again, with my cheat, I know where to hit and make a shape without breaking this state. That's also why Rike says that I can hear the voice of the iron. For this work, Rike keeps her eyes on me. She's trying to take it all, especially on where to hit. Eventually, the shape of the knife was formed. I then showed it to Rike. Did you get it? Yes. The quality is the same as when you showed it earlier. That's right. Then I'll finish it. Understood. When I put the shaped knife in the fire bed for quenching, I blow some air to raise the temperature. I'm a little special, so I can't tell the last minute temperature just by looking at the fire, but for you, it may be better to determine the temperature by doing it in the middle of the night. No, since I'm a dwarf, I know most of it, I can't prove it. Is that so? Oh, by the way, Reich usually does the quenching with me. Okay, then look at it properly. Yes. Reich says in a soft voice. I also seriously assess the temperature. The temperature went up steadily and reached the perfect temperature. I quickly removed the knife from the fire bed and quench it with water. It's that temperature just now. Yes. I think I roughly got it. Though I believe that it will take time for me to make it. That's fine. After this, I hold it over the flame on the fire bed to temper it. I concentrated on teaching the timing of this so that Reich could learn the temperature at this time. If I won't do this, it will still be fragile. After tempering, I polished and sharpen it. If sharpening fails here, the work until here will become useless, so I need to be serious. Reich is watching this work attentively as well. Maybe this is the best one from here. Maybe it's because the feel of the cheat became familiar, or I'm just getting used to this work, but this is pretty good. I showed the finished product to Reich. That's right. I can't hardly tell the difference from what I hit before, but it may be a little better. I didn't show the work process at that time to Reich. I wish I had shown it. Well, you should aim from here. Yes. I'll do my best, boss. Good. I smiled and prayed for the light ahead of this young blacksmith. Chapter 50, A Piece of Life. After showing Reich the production of the custom model knife, I ponder whether I should make some high-end model or end the work here, and at that moment, Samia and Diana came back. Welcome home. Were you able to hunt some game? I'm home. Yeah, we've hunted a pretty big tree deer. Oh, that's amazing. Diana too, welcome home. I'm home. I'm tired. Hey. What's wrong? That. I asked Diana to work as the beater, you see. During a hunt, the beater is responsible for driving the prey to the front of the archer's bow. In that case, she should have run and moved around quite a bit. In addition, it's also inside the forest, so it would really make her tired. Samia also did not go easy on her. That was tough. Both of you worked hard. Diana, is it okay if we take a break from today's training? Yes. As you can see, I can't move well with this being the case. Right. We won't have practice today then. I'll prepare our dinner after cleaning up the workplace, so after cleaning of the dirt on your body, rest in your rooms first. Ye-tilde-s. Okay. Both of them head towards the kitchen. All right then, shall we clean up the workplace? Yes, boss. And so, this is how the day ended. Dawn, the next day. All of us are headed to the forest first thing in the morning. I am carrying the water jars, Samia has the rope and Reich holds the axe. Still, every time I see this, Reich holding an axe really gives a strong picture of a dwarf. Well, it's natural because she's indeed a dwarf. Diana is the only one who's empty-handed, but she can't hide her excitement. It's a prey she, and Samia, hunted yesterday after all, so she's looking forward to collecting it. I also stopped trying to find out if she's a tomboy. There is no need to find that out. Then the four of us went inside the forest. We have more eyes compared to when it's only the three of us. One more person can sense if there's a presence of another person, so it may be said that the degree of our safety has increased. Well, there aren't that many animals that attack a group of 4 humans in the first place. To put it the other way around, it's pretty suspicious if they come after us. 6 days have passed since I hid Diana. Carl's group should soon know that the pursuers failed to capture Diana. In that case, they would be looking for Diana's whereabouts, and it is not strange that the Black Forest is one of the prospects. Still, I think it will take a considerable amount of time for them to reach here while they are searching, because they will go through a forest where ordinary humans could die. However, our place emits a lot of smoke after all, so it can't be easily found like when Helen came. Considering that, it's time to be cautious. With that in mind, we arrived at the lake. Reich cuts down a tree while me, Samia, and Diana pull up the tree deer. While Reich and I are making the carrier, I asked Samia and Diana to fill the water jars with water. When the things are placed on the carrier, we just need to pull it to transport them. With the 4 of us pulling it, it's much faster than before. We arrived home about 1.2 times faster than when we pulled it before. The rest of the process is done by 3 people, except Diana. The 3 of us have become accustomed to it, so in no time, the deer quickly turned into meat. Meat can't be prepared like this, huh? Diana says so while looking like she's impressed or just thinking about something. This is probably the time to faint for a normal young lady. Is what I thought, but, the day before, she was also present at the scene where Samia removed the internal organs, and it seems that nothing happened in particular. She's got quite the guts there. Yeah. It will be dismantled into meat this way. It's a living deer until I chased it yesterday and Samia-san killed it. Well, that's right. And that's the same meat that Diana-san has eaten so far. Alright. She's thinking about it a lot. Aside from the common people, the nobles rarely look at the place where they are slaughtered and dismantled. Well, shouldn't it be fine with being aware that we receive a life like this? Receive a life, huh? Yes. We are alive thanks to that life, you see. I see. Somehow my words sounds a little bit like a sermon. That's why I don't want to get old. Izu is saying something like my grandfather did. Those words of Samia prick my heart. I was taught that way at home. I replied faintly. Do they teach that in the north too? Just like the beastmen, huh? Samia was impressed. I don't know what the whole north is like, but at least at home, I was taught that everything has a soul. When I said at home, it's the concept in Japan in my previous world. Even those in the forest. Yeah, even those in the forest as well, the trees in there. That's why I was told by my old man that I must be grateful upon cutting it, using it in various ways, and live with it. Of course, it's not just for the trees. I see. This time Diana is the one impressed. I don't want to do anything like invading the cultural sphere here, but after living there for more than 40 years, I can't help but think like that. The place has become gloomy, so as much as possible, I say things brightly. I'm off today, so I'll cook this meat for lunch, look forward to it, okay? Okay, hooray. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Samia and Reich took the bait. Diana on the other hand has a confused look. What is it? However, both Samia and Reich just say, you'll know when it's noon. Then everyone goes inside the house with the meat. Other than lunch and supper, the venison is either dried or salted. So for our lunch today, I made the well-accepted venison steak with raspberry sauce. The rest is unfermented bread and soup. One of these days, I'd like to try making fermented bread with raisins or rye yeast. Before eating, Diana asks. In the north. I mean, at Izu-san's house, do you have a prayer of gratitude at this time? That's right. Then, let's try it. Put your hands together. All members then put their hands together. Itadakimasu. Itadakimasu. Everyone repeats after me. Izu, what do you mean by itadakimasu? Its main purpose is to express your gratitude like thank you, I'll receive your life, or thank you, I'll receive the blessings of nature, or thank you, I'll receive the food that you have prepared. Heh. Then let's do this from now on. It's Izu's house in the first place. I don't mind, but, is that fine with you too? Yes, I don't mind. Of course it's fine, boss. And like this, the Japanese style itadakimasu and goshisozuma became the appreciation for meals at my home. Chapter 51, Consultation. Today is a rest day, so after dismantling the deer and having lunch, everyone spends their time doing what they want until before dinner. I decided to make arrowheads. Of course there's the share for Samiya's replenishment, but in addition to that, Diana may also use a bow and arrow in the future. As I create fire on the workplace, Rike said that she also wanted to practice making knives. It seems that Samiya and Diana are practicing archery in the garden, or just in front of the house. Maybe their personality suits each other from the start, as they've been on good terms since they went out to gather fruits and hunt. I think that both Diana and Samiya have a personality that no matter who their companion is, they won't mind. I also trained with Diana about half an hour before dinner. She won't change that much in only a couple of days, but it is good if she can grasp something little by little. Supper is made by slicing some venison and grilling it with fig fruits and red wine sauce. It's sweet and sour and it's not bad. It was quite well received by the three of them. The next day. Today is the time we'll go to the city and wholesale the goods to Kamilo. I can't take Diana with me as I don't know what might happen. The best thing to do is to leave Diana here and head to town with only me, Samiya, and Rike. That way, our actions will be exactly the same as usual and we will be able to reduce her exposure as much as possible. But I also would like to leave one more person here just in case. But, who will be left with her if that's the case? I'm out of the question, so it's either Samiya or Rike. However, Rike has no fighting ability and is not familiar with this forest. So in the end, it comes to Samiya. If something happens, if it's Samiya, they can't escape through the forest. If they could stay at the place that used to be her home, they could manage for a few days. With Samiya staying here, our vigilance along the way will definitely be lessened, but I think I can cover it. Well, it seems that I am strong enough in case of an emergency. I then explained that to the three of them. All three agreed at once. Okay, I can't do anything about it. I'm sorry, for my sake. Don't worry about it. It's not Diana's fault. That's right. Diana-san, we should put your safety first. Thank you everyone. Diana is in tears. I have to ask Marius she to solve it as soon as possible. That being said, it's quite possible that Marius she is worried because no one else knows that Diana, who should have been at Camilo's at least 5 days ago, is already here. That's also why I decided to bring the letter from Marius she to Camilo. All right then, see you later. Take care. Seen off by Samiya and Diana, Rike and I left the house. As I had said earlier, because Samiya is not with us, our vigilance is lessened, so let's proceed with caution. Understood, boss? As I also keep an eye on the surrounding, it will take us about 1.5 times longer than usual. We slowly and cautiously go through the forest. I didn't set an exact time upon going to Camilo's shop, and it was a relief that we're always fine whenever we went out. After 2 breaks on the way, we finally came to the point where we'll exit the forest. It usually takes about 2 hours, but today it took us a little over 3 hours. I look around before leaving the forest. I didn't sense anyone watching us. We then get out of the forest quickly. I feel a little relieved with this. That said, safety is not guaranteed on the road either. It is a place where there is enough danger, so we still proceed with caution. We soon arrived at the place where Diana was attacked. It's been a week since then, so there's no sign of anything in particular. It's likely that we are the only ones who know the whereabouts of their target. There's nothing more here, huh? Yes. With it like this, without any traces, they won't really know what happened. Well, at least, I'm glad we didn't seem to be accused of anything. It will get troublesome if we're asked about that now. That's right. While having such a conversation, we head to the town. In the end, nothing happened here either, but it's still taking a lot longer than usual. It looks like we'll only make a basic round trip for today. Of course, Marius, she is not at the entrance to the town. The person guarding it this time wasn't an acquaintance, so I just gave a light bow and decided to go to Camilo's shop. If it had been one of my acquaintances, I might have been able to find out something, but well, that's inevitable now. Once we're inside the city, even if the pursuers are wandering around, there's no way they'll ask a blacksmith who just came to wholesale goods. Reich and I soon arrived at Camilo's shop. As usual, we placed the luggage in the warehouse and called Camilo. I finished the business talks as usual, so I begin to talk to Camilo. Sorry, I have something I would like to talk to you a little. Oh, what is it? I glanced at the clerk here. Camilo nods and looks at the clerk. The clerk also nodded back and quickly left the room. With a click, the door was quietly closed. After confirming that, I took the written letter from my bosom. I'm holding on to this. I've confirmed the contents with the consent of the owner of this letter. Oh. Camilo begins to read the unsealed letter. Wrinkles immediately appeared between his eyebrows. After reading till the end, he let out a sigh. Since you have this, I assume that you were the only ones who came today, right? He asked. That's right. It's as what you have said. Diana is at my house and I also know the current situation. You knew the matter around here for quite some time already, right? Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to get you involved, you see. Well, it didn't work. I explained that I was at the scene where Diana was attacked during my previous trip back home. I see. That was such a lucky event that Marius and his companions couldn't hope for. Well, that's because they came directly to us. I guess so. Then I'll get rid of this letter. Yeah, I'll leave that to you. I can't directly support Marius' son because I have a special circumstance and I have no connections. Well, no matter what my skill is, a blacksmith can't speak before the nobles' conflict. It's not a lie, this is the fact. I can't help as much as I can, but it is impossible for a blacksmith to reach out to the nobles even from the shadows. Camilo nods. Well, that's right. But if I can't help as a blacksmith, I'd love to help. However, I only come here once a week, right? I'm worried about the delay in contacting you. It's possible to come here more often, but if I did that, they might get suspicious, so that's not an option. I wonder if there is a way to get in touch with you every day. Camilo listened to me, but he's still thinking about it. I then call out to the Camilo. Hey, I've already been involved enough, you know. You don't need to worry whether I'll get involved or not. That's also true. And so, Camilo told me how we'll get in touch. Chapter 52, Communication. We left Camilo's shop and head home. This time, in addition to the usual iron ores, charcoal, salt and wine, I also bought dried root vegetables and a little pepper. When we were leaving the city, I still gave a bow to the guards. When I think about it, the one standing on the gate was not one of my acquaintances, so it's hard for them to tell that there are only 2 people today even though 3 people always come. I think they were just right in time. On the way back, we took more time than usual as we proceed with caution. As expected, it was a lot later than usual, but in the end, we were able to get home without any incident in particular. We're home. Oh, welcome home, Izu. Welcome home. I asked Samia and Diana to help us bring the luggage inside. While Samia and Reich are bringing the iron ores to the workshop, me and Diana bring the salt and wine to the kitchen. While doing that. Oh, this is pepper, isn't it? Diana noticed the pepper. Yeah. I bought it because there were some in Camilo's shop. I don't want to use it in large quantities, but with it, the flavor will definitely improve. Oh. Then Izu-san has eaten a dish using pepper. Oops. In this world, it's not extremely expensive depending on the region, at least it is not the same amount as gold of the same weight, but it is a reasonably high-class product because the area that cultivate it is limited due to the climate. Normally, you can't say that you have already eaten it. And what I said earlier also isn't something that humans here just happened to say. Well, I have a special circumstance, so I usually keep it as a secret, but I have a family name called Tanya. Izu Tanya is my full name. I was wondering if that's the case since you can't use magic. It turns out that I'm right after all. Though I have a family name, due to some reasons it is impossible for me to name my house for the Sake of Imerl family, you know. In the first place, even if there is a house with the same name as me, it's not really my family, so there is actually no house that will help. Do the other 2 know about it? That's right. I think they didn't tell you because I told them to keep it a secret. Diana-san too, please keep it a secret. You could get caught up in a troublesome thing, you see. I understand. I also have a family name, so I understand the bothersome matter in that area. Yeah, I guess so. What's more, she's exactly in the midst of that troublesome situation. All right, with this, we are done carrying it. Yeah. Please look forward to today's dinner, okay? Yes, of course. Diana smiled and said that. I was really relieved. That evening, I added a little crushed pepper to the usual soup. Since I'm already at it, I also remove the salt to some freshly salted meat, grilled, and serve it with a little pepper sprinkled on it. Whoa, it's delicious. It was Samia who was overjoyed. Beastmen are almost self-sufficient, so they don't use pepper. Well, in the first place, their preservation method is drying, so salt is not used that much. As Boss had said, it's a bit different and delicious. Reich was also happy. Even at Reich's house, food preservation mainly used salt, and it seems that pepper was not used. The male dwarfs are a big eater, so she joked that if they used pepper, they would go bankrupt in no time. Oh my, even with only this much pepper it's very delicious already. I may prefer this one. That's what Diana said. On the contrary, it seems that some aristocrats serve dishes full of pepper. I also want to refrain from eating that. I don't know if the pepper will be supplied in a stable manner, but at one point I will try to buy it as much as possible. Dawn, the next day. As soon as I finish fetching water in the morning, I head to the entrance of the forest. After having breakfast, the other three would start making short swords and long swords at the workshop. I go through the forest. It's always quiet in this forest, but it's even quieter today, probably because it's early in the morning. It's as if the forest hasn't awakened yet. While I pass alone through the bushes, I feel that my footsteps are loud. Since I'm alone today, I can't move quickly even if I'm fully on guard with just a self-defense knife and a short sword. I think that my speed is making the noise louder, so I slowed down a little and continuously head towards the entrance of the forest. Eventually, I arrived at the entrance of the forest much earlier than usual. I climbed on one of the trees nearby. Even when I was a kid, I never climbed a tree that many times, but by the cheat and installed experience, I managed to do it somehow. If I stay still here, my appearance can't be hidden while I'm looking at the road. Thus I didn't move and keep an eye on the road. It was good at first, but after half an hour, my body, which is not that young anymore, began aching. However, if I move around, they will find out that I am here. So I could only move my body little by little. I'm like a sniper, but well, what I'm doing isn't really that different. I wait while talking to myself. For the next hour, there were some people who passed by, but they are not the person I'm waiting for. 1 hour after that, the person I'm waiting for finally came. That person came from the town. He looked around at the position close to me, and when he confirmed that nobody else is around, he hid something in the bush near the forest at the side of the road and walked towards the capital as it is. After I made sure that he was gone and confirmed that no one is approaching me, I quickly climbed down the tree and ran up to the bush. There was a bag there, so I collected it and quickly returned inside the forest to check the contents of the bag in a position not visible from the road. It contained a small piece of paper and a light green ribbon. What's written on the paper was, "Did you confirm it?" After I wrote I confirmed on the paper with the writing instrument that I took out of my bosom, I returned to the bush again, attached a light green ribbon to a place that was hard to see from the roadside, and hid the letter a little away from it. All I have to do is go back inside the forest and go home. This is the method of contact that I decided with Camilo. Camilo has staffs that go from the town to the capital and similarly a staff that goes from the capital to the town. So with that, we exchange letters by hiding the letter in the bushes alongside the road near the forest. Someone from the town going to the capital hides the letter in one of the bushes around here. Then after I received it, I will attach a ribbon to the bush it was originally hidden to hide the reply. The man who came from the capital going to the town would then collect the letter based on the landmark and deliver it to Camilo. It's a hassle, but with this, I can't get in touch with Camilo once a day. In addition, I don't have to go to the city, nor does Camilo have to leave the city. However, in case of an emergency, Camilo will come directly to give me the letter. At that time, eyewitnesses will be inevitable. Now then, with this, I'm ready to help Maria's son. The rest is whether I can meet the request or not. Chapter 53, Next Step. When I got home, I had lunch with Samia, Reich, and Diana. Then we start making short swords and long swords in the afternoon. The number will decrease as I wasn't able to work in the morning, but this pace of work should be enough for delivery. Even if we include pepper, if we made about a half of what is expected for a week, 4 people can still eat well at the current wholesale price. The setup will be like this for a while, but this one seems to be fine. I think so too. Though there will be more general models, there are no particular problem, I guess. Right. Since Reich does the main work, I will work on the high-end model ones from the first day. This is similar to when we're making knives. This won't change until there is a movement in the capital and no contact is needed. When the work is over, it's time to train with Diana. I think she's getting better little by little. However, it seems that it will take a long time for her to beat me. Well, let's do it slowly. I think it is better if I can't teach her what she's good at though. The day ended after the lessons are over and we had our supper. I will work again tomorrow after waiting for the contact. As expected, nothing happened for about 3 days. For 3 days, the usual routine of exchanging letters with no big content, going back to do blacksmithing, training, eating food and going to bed took place. With that, short swords, long swords and a certain number of knives were made. The change happened on the 4th day. As usual, from the top of the tree, I check where the letter is being hidden in the bush, then I collected the hidden letter. When I verified the letter's content inside the forest, I'm prepared to go to the capital by myself tomorrow. I'll pick you up here. Bring anything you absolutely need for blacksmithing. I'll explain it on the way to the capital. That was it. It's pretty abrupt. It seems urgent, but Camilo didn't come directly because he needs to pick me up tomorrow. I won't mind even if we're heading to the capital today. The only thing I need for blacksmithing is a furnace, but I can't bring it with me of course, and he probably wouldn't expect me to bring it separately too. There is nothing else in particular. If anything, I'm getting used to the hammer in my workshop, but with my cheat, the quality of the tool will not matter. Writing this and calling me could only imply that I will do some blacksmith job in the capital. Well, if that will help Marius, I'm willing to do so. I write a word of acknowledgement, hide the letter again, tie the ribbon to the bush, then head home. When I got home, during our lunch I explained that I am going to the capital. So with that, I'll ask the 3 of you to stay at home. I don't know how long it will take, but if it's longer than 2 weeks, I'll ask to go home once. What about the blacksmithing works? Continue that. It should be fine for a while because we have a good stock. We still have a lot of meat, right? Yeah. I'll catch some in case of emergency. I'm sorry, I'll leave it to you. You can't take a break from going to town. Camilo won't be there anyway and I haven't been there for past 2 weeks, so it won't be suspicious. Understood. Diana-san too, don't go far away from here either. I understand. I'm sorry, for my house. I said you should not worry about that, right? Diana was downcast. I also owe Diana-san's brother. I'm just repaying it. I said that cheerfully as much as possible. It seems that Diana managed to come to terms with it. Her expression is now cheerful compared to before. Well, even though that's the case, I'll still work today. After lunch, I went into the workshop. Well, it's because I'm the only one who can make a high-end model for now. I then concentrate on making high-end models knives. I focused on speed a little more than usual. Thanks to the cheat, high-end model knives are completed one after another without sacrificing the quality. Even though I didn't make it from the morning, I was able to make about 1.2 times as much in a day. With all this, it would be okay to immediately wholesale the items after my return. The supper on that day was a little sumptuous and we did something like a send-off party before the expedition. I'm not the one who'll cook rice from tomorrow anyway. The next morning, while watching the road from the top of the tree, I chew on the unfermented bread sandwiched with thin slices of salted meat between them for breakfast. I didn't bring anything other than my usual self-defense knife. It's a hassle if something happens and I end up leaving the hammer in the capital. While I was looking at the road and leisurely eating my breakfast, a wagon came from afar. Is that Camilo? Eventually, the wagon that looked like a dot before became clear as it approaches. It's a fairly large wagon, although it looked like a big cart pulled by a horse. I swallowed my breakfast and stared at the coachman's face. He's definitely Camilo. When I confirmed that there were no people around me, it was time to get out of the tree and keep watching the wagon from the forest. Finally, the wagon stopped and Camilo got off and went around to the loading platform. I quickly approached it while looking around. Yo! I called out to Camilo. Camilo was not even surprised. Then he replied. It's you, huh? I'm sorry that I'm asking you without delay, but please get on the luggage carrier. Understood. I jump on the luggage carrier and move closer to the coachman's platform. When Camilo saw that, he moved to the coachman's seat and started running the wagon again. It's faster than I expected. I'll go directly to the point and talk about it briefly. I want you to hit a sword in the capital. If possible, within today or tomorrow. As he was running the wagon, Camilo spoke in a slightly loud voice. I also replied in the same volume. I don't mind. How many? One is enough. But I'll ask for the best one possible. Is it a custom model? All right, but can't you tell me why? Oh. In Marius' son's house. To sum it up, the Emerl family has an heirloom sword and it was stolen. Based from the situation when it was stolen, and given that only those people inside would know about it, Marius' son judged that Carl did it. Then why do I need to forge a sword? Don't rush. It seems that Carl wants to say that Marius' son is not qualified as a successor for having their heirloom sword stolen. Carl is collecting information to prepare to recover it, but it's probably in his hands, so there's really no need to recover it. It's like he's saying, what kind of management were you doing that a precious heirloom was stolen from the house? You don't have the qualities of a successor. I will take it back and show that I am suitable as a successor. It's absurd and suspicious. No one delves into this matter. Carl and his confidants weren't near the city when the heirloom sword was stolen. They are rather suspicious, but as long as there's no connection with the stolen item, suspicion will only be a suspicion. If he brings it back, it will certainly end up as his achievement. However, it will be too suspicious if he got it back soon after he started looking for it, so I guess his stand is that he hasn't found it yet. Stirring up trouble to get credit for the solution. This self-made performance makes his speech so embarrassing. That's where you come in. It seems that Marius' son plans to say that the stolen heirloom sword is a fake. Then an outrageous imagination runs through my head. No, that can't be. But Camilo's next words were exactly what I had imagined. Yes, it's for the Emerl family. You'll forge their heirloom sword from today or tomorrow. Chapter 54, Entering the Capital. Wait a minute. The new heirloom sword, does it mean that my sword will become the heirloom of the Emerl family? That's not really the case. The one stolen is a fake, so naturally, you should say that the one that Marius' son holds is the real heirloom. And that real one was made by you. Is it okay for the sword I made to be like that? That heirloom sword is neither a national treasure nor was it made by a god or an elf, and there was someone who forged it first, so it's the same thing. It does seem right when you say that. Accept it, just think that you're helping Marius' son. Yeah. Well, a heirloom is nothing more than a well-made sword, So if I make a sword that is better than that, it will be said to be it's superb, as expected of a heirloom that's being inherited. It will probably be worth it. When it comes to making national treasures and heirloom of a family with a higher rank than a count, I think that the material and manufacturing method are beyond the range that can be compared with just the use of steel. But if it is the count's family, they might have the finest steel, so I may be able to manage somehow. For the time being, ask Marius about the material of the sword. Helen showed me the sword that you forged, and even I could tell that it was a fine item. If you can forge something similar, that would be good enough. Camilo calls out to me while I'm thinking such. Ah, he saw that hat. It was the only one out there so far. Since he said that it would be fine, I guess it would really be okay, right? I can't get rid of my anxiety, but I've already gone this far to turn back, so I have no choice but to do it. I got it. But it will be tricky if some conditions overlap. For example, if the material is more than just steel, it becomes too dangerous. Though I'll try to make something good as much as possible. Oh, that's fine. Well then, my bad, but do you see a box there, right? Can you hide in it? This one. Certainly there is a large box here. But it seems a little small for me to enter. Yeah, that's it. Camilo glances back at me and says that. I took off the lid of the box as I was told and looked inside. It's deeper than I expected. Or should I say that the depth obviously doesn't match physically. I see, so that's how it is, huh? The wagon is crafted to carry more than what it looks. If this is the case, I can't hide here alone. I hid inside and closed the lid myself. It's been a long time since I hid in the box. At least it's been a while since I fell asleep lightly. It's a horse-drawn wagon and the roads are well maintained, so I think it's a lot faster than walking, but still, it's quite a distance, huh? Then, after being shaken by the wagon for a while, it shook greatly, then the wagon stopped. The surrounding is noisy. Apparently we already arrived at the entrance of the capital. I feel like I can hear the voice calling the next person, from here and there. Is it like the border immigration inspection in the previous world? It's frustrating that I can't really tell because I'm inside the box. The wagon occasionally advances and stops. The voices of the guards are getting closer and louder accordingly. Eventually, it seems to be our turn. Are you a peddler? Yes. I transport some items. I'll inspect it a little. Okay. The sound of two people walking is approaching the cart that is the one where I'm at. I believe that the footsteps that have come up to the loading platform is from the guard. It seems that the lid of the luggage on my opposite side is being opened. The footsteps and the sound of opening the lid gradually approached me and I was quite nervous, but in the end, he didn't come to where I'm at and just got off the loading platform. Okay, it's good. You may go through. Yes. Thank you very much. Camilo returns to the wagon and advances once more. Eventually, the vibration of the wagon changed at the same time as I heard the hustle and bustle as if we had entered the city. The sound of the wheels now is also different. Still, Camilo doesn't tell me to get out. It seems that the situation of not going out and making a noise does not change yet. Even after I know that we've entered the capital, we still went a good distance, turning on a road, climbing hills and occasionally stopping. Eventually, after stopping for a while, we went a little further and when I felt a vibration of the wagon that was clearly different from before, the wagon stopped again. Is this the destination? Hey, you can't go out now. It's Camilo's voice. I opened the lid as if I was waiting for it. And when I got out of the box, I stretched out on the loading platform. My waist makes a cracking noise. If I stayed there at my age in the previous world, I might not be able to stand because my back was too painful. Ah, it was painful. Right. I'm sorry for that, but I can't let them know you're here. I know. I replied to Camilo with a bitter smile. So where is this? This is a smithy owned by Emerl family. It seems that private army weapons are made and repaired here. It's really quiet though. I thought places like this will be noisy because the hammer using the water wheel will be operating. Right now it seems that Marius-san has stopped the operations and left only a few reliable craftsmen. I see. Well, I don't want to show a lot of people how to create the real heirloom either. Whoops. I jump off the loading platform. It seems that this is just a place to put the luggage as there is no fire bed. I didn't know because I was in the box, but when I looked outside, the sun was starting to tilt. Looks like it took a long time even with a carriage since morning is already over before I knew it. Well then, I should prepare quickly. Yeah. I've just sent a message to Marius-san that we've arrived. Sorry, but please start right away. Understood. I opened the door pointed by Camilo. Now then, let's get started with this once-in-a-lifetime help to Marius-shi. Chapter 55, Failure and Success. Looking inside the smithy, fire bed, bellows, hammer and other items are available. In addition, that big hammer is eye-catching. Looking at it, the shaft extends outward at the top. It's the one that's operated by a water wheel. The installed knowledge tells me how to make it work. I think I can do it somehow. The fire bed is not a magical one, so I need to ignite it myself. After putting charcoal in the fire bed, I take some bark and wheat straw that will be used for ignition and sheet metal and hammer to be placed on the anvil. After placing the sheet metal on the anvil, I hit the end with a hammer while turning it over. After doing this for a while, the edges of the sheet metal turns reddish. When I put the wheat straw on the bark of the tree and touched it with the red-hot sheet metal, the wheat straw ignites. I took it to the fire bed in a hurry, place it around the charcoal laid on it and then operate the bellows until the charcoal ignites. I operate the bellows for a while and when it starts burning, I add some charcoal, operate the bellows and repeat such process. This area is the part that has been magically done in our workshop. All I have to do is throw in the charcoal, ignite it with magic, and send some wind. If there's a person who can use magic better than me, he should be able to do the same thing on this fire bed. Anyway, it can't be helped because mine is only the minimum. And perhaps such person wouldn't be a blacksmith either. The fire was now enough and the temperature has risen, so I shoved the sheet metal that seems to be the best here and heat it. When I finished heating, the first step is to stretch it. I placed the heated sheet metal on the anvil and hit it with a hammer. I try to make the parts as uniform as possible, but it feels a little different from the usual. Is it because the hammer is different? I wish I had brought the one from the workshop. Since this is a custom model, I hit it while concentrating and stretch it. Eventually, it became the length of a longsword. From here on, it's time to shape it. By repeated heating and hammering, the shape was finally made. The completed shape is a longsword with a straight blade. It is simple and sturdy. Oh, is it done? I don't know where he was until now when Camilo suddenly called out to me. Yeah, the shape is done. While replying to him, I put the sword in the fire bed and raise the temperature. It's the preparation for quenching part. While manipulating the bellows, I determine the perfect temperature. Eventually, The sword was heated to the temperature I expected. I then took it out of the fire bed and quickly cooled it with water. When the temperature has dropped sufficiently, I lightly set it on the fire bed. Then warm it up and let it cool down. After polishing and sharpening, it should be completed. I was puzzled. What's wrong? You're not able to do it. Camilo is worried because of my expression. No. I made it, but this is not the expected result. That's right. This sword doesn't have that kind of glitter when I made the custom model. This is good as a high-end model. To do it in such a short time, my cheat may be sufficient, but this one is not good enough to be made into the next generation's heirloom. It looks good enough though. No. This isn't it. The firewood here were also placed in the same way as our workshop, so I placed a wheat straw bundle on top of it, then I slashed it with the sword I just forged. The wheat straw bundle was quickly sliced. The blade digs into the firewood. Whoa, isn't it really sharp? No, this isn't it. Camilo was thrilled. But naturally, the sharpness of my custom model one isn't like this. This is just a high-end model. I take out my own knife and cut the wheat straw and firewood with it. While sliding down, the wheat straw bundle broke along with the firewood. As expected, it is this sharpness if it is a proper custom model. Hey, just now. HN. Oh, if I take it seriously, I can't make something that cuts like this. Is that so? Camilo made a complex look for a moment. I see, it might be that Helen really just showed him the appearance, not its sharpness. Don't speak about this too much. I know. I mean, they won't believe me even if I say this. Well, that's true. It's because aside from the wheat straw bundle, the knife even cuts the firewood. I'll give it a try again. What about this one? If you want it, I'll give it to you. It's cheap. As usual, you're a greedy blacksmith. Camilo laughed as he said that. After that, I made about 2 knives, but all of them end up being high-end models. The sun has already set and Camilo isn't here either. I compared the high-end model I made here with my custom model one for self-defense. As expected, something like its luster is completely different. High-end models also have some luster on it, but custom-made models even seem to glimmer on their own. Somehow it's not shining much now compared to when I made it previously. What's the difference? How can I make this shine with the materials here? No. That's not really the case. I realized that. If it doesn't work with the materials here, I can't use a material that's not here as well. After making the fire on the fire bed stronger, I put the self-defense knife in it and heat it. I take out the red-hot knife and cut it into about 1/3. I alternately place a small sheet metal and the cut knife part on top of a sheet metal, wrap it in a thin damp linen cloth, attach the ashes of the burnt wheat straw on it, then put it in the fire bed to heat it. When I took it out, it looks red and lumpy. I made full use of the cheat and hit it with the hammer so that the sheet metal here and the steel from the cut knife stick together. I repeat this process several times, and when it's done, I hit it with a hammer to stretch it. However, I haven't stretched it to the desired length yet. When it stretched to some extent, I made a cut in the middle, fold it back and put it together again. This work was repeated about 15 times. The resulting lump is heated again, and this time, it stretched to the desired length. At this point, I tap it to erase the unevenness so that the material's texture becomes uniform as much as possible. This time, when I hit it for the first time, I did not feel off. It was now stretched to the desired length. There's no unevenness or distortion as well. From here, I start to form its shape. I then heat and hammer it repeatedly. I'm looking seriously so that the unevenness and distortion that I raised will not appear again. The shape that was eventually created was not like the first one that I made. The blade part draws a graceful curve. I wasn't attentive about it when I hit the first one, but when it comes to an heirloom, it's better to be elaborate in its design. And with the cheat, the quenching, tempering, polishing and sharpening part were all done perfectly. I took a closer look at the newly made sword. This luster is definitely a custom model. I took a wheat straw bundle and firewood, arranged them, then I lightly swing down the longsword I just made. The next moment, the blade of the longsword touched the ground, and while slipping down, the wheat straw and the firewood were scattered on both sides. Chapter 56, Completion of the Heirloom. This completes the sword blade itself. It cannot be compared with any sword out there. However, this cannot be delivered as it is. It's so simple for an heirloom. I borrowed a chisel, although the hammer and others are also borrowed, and carve on the blade. With the help of my cheat, I added a graceful pattern on it to match the curve of the blade without disturbing the weight balance and hardiness. It looks like the leaves and stems of a plant. Then I put a flower-like pattern on the tip of the sword. Since these are carved on the back and front, it is quite an intricate work. If I'm not good at this, it would be harder than when I'm hitting the blade. Well, that's also why I feel that it will be good as an heirloom. Thanks to the cheat, I can work without hesitation and without drafts. After a considerable amount of time, I finally finished engraving on the blade. Next will be the sword guard and the pommel. I put a pattern that looks like a plant is entwined in the sword guard. I carved the pattern on the sword guard in a way that it looks three-dimensional. I also put the coat of arms of the Emerl family in the middle of the brim. As for the pommel, it's an engraving that looks like a flower bud. The usual sitting fat cat was engraved in the small place where it wouldn't be visible if it was wrapped in leather. It's a little bit like an Easter egg. I then use a file to clean the burrs that came out when I'm putting the engravings. The pattern has become clearer, so I stop there. When I noticed it, it appears that it's already quite late. I'm also very drowsy now. There is no point in continuing to work on this. As I got older, I tend to give up on doing this kind of work much faster. After I put out the fire on the firewood, I lay down wrapped in a blanket inside the smithy. Up. Hey, wake up. I wake up after being shaken by someone. HRMM. I opened my eyes droopily. It seems that it was Camilo who was shaking me. I thought you were depressed because you couldn't do it yesterday, but you're sleeping peacefully, huh? HNNN. No. It's not good for the body to stay up all night, you see. I replied to Camilo's words in a carefree manner while still lying down. If the body of the sword hadn't been made, I wouldn't have been able to take it easy. Your body is your capital, huh? I heard a familiar voice that was different from Camilo. I jumped out of bed in a hurry. Maria's son. The one who's smiling there is the face of the guard who I saw at the entrance of the town. He's wearing fine clothes instead of the slightly rugged leather armor. I'm glad and embarrassed at the same time seeing that the short sword on his waist was the one I made. It's been a long time, Izu-san. Marius, she politely greets me. I'm afraid he's having a hard time with the mess these days. I can see some of them reflected on his face. Hey. Marius-san, you know my name. I heard about it when I asked help for this matter. Even if this is a confidential matter, it will be rude of me if I continued not to know your name. I see. Marius san, you don't have to treat me so politely. Just do so like when you meet me in town. When Marius she treats me politely, it felt strange and the conversation is quite awkward. No, I can't be rude to those who are my benefactors. It's been the case since he was the guard in the town. Marius she is quite distracted. No, not at all. You don't have to worry about it because I owed you one too. When I said that. Well then, let's just say we are in the same position, so let's stop being polite to each other, all right? With a smile, Marius makes a suggestion. If I don't agree to this, he's probably going to keep on treating me like that. I don't want that either. Understood? No, I see. Let's do that. Thus, a blacksmith, who talks to the count casually, probably the next, was born. I still need to wrap the leather, so please wait a moment. Do you have time? Yeah, it's still okay. All right. I wrapped the leather around the grip of the sword. With the help of my cheat, I was able to wind it quickly and tightly. This should be fine. Try shaking it. Got it. I handed the sword to Marius. Marius looked at the sword he received and... It's a beautiful sword. He liked it. He looked at it for a while, then as if he had returned to his senses, he started swinging my sword. It's a beautiful swordsmanship. It's very similar to Diana-san's swordsmanship, probably because he was learning the same sword technique. However, probably because Diana was a woman, her movement was a little more focused on speed, but Marius' movements are more like playing around. I got this impression that it was a power-type stance. Marius she waved the sword intently for a while, and then he stopped moving, so I called out. How is it? Wow, this sword is the best sword I've ever had. Marius she spoke from the bottom of his heart. Well, it's almost the best I can make. It won't lose to the swords out there. Oops, I was about to forget. By the way, what is the material of the original heirloom sword? I have to listen to this. It's pretty good, but after all, it's just steel. If it's made of a magical metal such as orichalcum or adamantite, my sword will lose. That fake was given to the Emerl family when we received the count's title. The king at that time asked the best blacksmith in the kingdom to forge it. Even if there is god metal which would be the best in the kingdom, it's not attainable by humans. In other words, it's just steel. Exactly. For the time being, one is clear. Is it impossible for a normal person to get orichalcum? I wonder if it's possible for me. One more thing, up until now, did you ever show the heirloom? It is displayed during private ceremonies, but other than that it's not displayed. It's also written in the records that the title and the sword is given by the king, so no one could comment on it. Then, the outsiders wouldn't make a fuss saying, the shape is different from the heirloom I heard of, right? Yeah, it will be like that. Then it will be fine, right? I was wondering what to do if it had been exhibited like the ones in a museum in the previous world. It appears that it has never been exposed to the public because it is treated as a god tool. If something goes wrong, I'll just compare it. If this real one doesn't lose to the fake one, they will know which is the sword given that was graciously given by the king, right? Marius grinned as he said that. Chapter 57, Delivery of the Heirloom. Then, the next one would be the scabbard. I speak to Camilo and Marius. Oh, right. There is also a scabbard. Camilo said so. If it's just an ordinary longsword, I can just make it quickly without worrying about its design, but it's for the heirloom after all. Well, after this, I don't know how much value it will have as a heirloom. But when it comes to a heirloom, there is a certain scabbard, right? Can't you finish it by tomorrow? It was Marius who asked. Well, I'll be able to do that. But I'll try to finish it by the end of today. You don't have to ornate it too much, the fake scabbard wasn't too striking either, you see. Is that so? All right then, let's make it like that. Yeah, I'll leave it to you. Then they went out after that. The next time they'll come here is the time of the complete delivery. Well then, shall I start? The base will be made of wood. I chose the one that is old and packed amongst the woods that are placed here as materials. Experts around here also rely on cheats. Though it's a heirloom, it will be fine to say that the scabbard is recently remade using new wood. Although for national and sacred treasures, I think that it would be quite difficult to remake its scabbard. I place the sword on the wood, measure the size, and then hollow out the wood in the shape of the sword. I prepared 2 wooden boards with half of its body hollowed out, stick them together with glue, and then make the outer shape with the high-end model knife that I made as a trial earlier. It seems that this knife can't be used for engraving. I only engraved one flower stem and leaf-like pattern in the middle. Once I'm done with that, I clean the whole thing with the knife. It's the planing part. Next, I took a beeswax with a cloth and applied it all over. I think it's a fairly expensive item, but it's for the heirloom scabbard, so I can't be stingy. After spending a considerable amount of time polishing, I light up the fire bed. Heat a sheet metal that is not very large and hit it with the hammer to spread it thinly. The stretched steel metal will be used for edging the scabbard. It's usually a fairly time-consuming task, but thanks to the cheat, I made the length and shape I want at once. I then attached the stretched sheet metal around the scabbard and engraved something with a chisel. The design is also like that of a plant's leaf. By the time the sun went down, the scabbard was finally completed. It was relatively early in the morning when I was awakened, and Marius and Camilo didn't stay that long, so it took a considerable amount of time creating just one scabbard. Even so, it's thanks to the cheat that I was able to finish the work that would normally take about a month, if you're not good at it, in just one day. When I put the sword in the scabbard, it looks quite elaborate. This would not be inferior to the fake. Then as I chuckled to myself, Camilo and Marius came. How are you doing? It's not like you cannot meet the deadline, right? Camilo asked with a cheerful expression. He did not even consider that I can't finish it. I'm glad and embarrassed that he trusted me so much. I just finished it. What do you think about this? I showed them the newly made sword and its scabbard. Oh. Marius expressed his admiration. This would make it easier to counter that fake one. Really? That's good then. I replied a little bluntly to Marius, who is beaming. I'm glad that he is pleased with what I've made, but I also become more embarrassed. Thank you very much, Izu. What's with that? I owe you one too. I just returned it. Marius extends his right hand. I also took that hand and we shook hands firmly. Take a break for now. I'll come back tomorrow morning. Camilo told me that. Okay, understood. I'd prefer if we sneak out in the middle of the night, but the gate will be closed at that time. Well, it wouldn't be suspicious if we would come out early in the morning when it was crowded. I obediently followed Camilo's words and decided to go to bed. The next morning, I woke up before Camilo came to pick me up. I'm preparing to go home by washing my face with the water in the water bottle. That said, I haven't brought many things, so I don't have much to prepare. I'd like to take one of the knives I made here as a trial instead of the one for self-defense that I already broke. When I get home, I can't just make a new custom model and use it for self-defense. A little after the sun rose, Camilo and Marius came. Besides them, there are few women too. What are they trying to do? Good morning. Did you sleep well? Camilo grins as he says that. I'm quite confused. Why yeah. I got up before you came. I answered back. Well, I used to sleep in a chair all the time in the previous world. Then Marius calls out to me, who's still confused. It's sudden and it's my bad, but please change into this one. While saying that, he showed me his luxurious clothes. My confusion deepens even more. Why do I need to bother on changing into such luxurious clothes when we're just going home? Completely not caring about me, Marius tells the women who came with him. He's not used to clothes like this. Help him change clothes. So he ordered. The women nodded, then surrounded me. No, wait a minute. Why are you my changing clothes? I raised my voice almost like a shriek. In the meantime, the women are trying to order me, that is, for me to take off my clothes. I hold my clothes down and wait for their answers, but both of them only grinned and didn't reply. If they put this much force, my clothes will be damaged, so I could only loosen the hold on my clothes for a moment, but the women took off my clothes and I became only in my underwear instead. Since it's already like this, I have no choice but to put on the new clothes. Well, I certainly don't know how to wear these luxurious clothes. It can't be helped, so I'm left with letting them dress me. Probably because I didn't have any strange resistance, those who are dressing me got things done quickly. The clothes have a design similar to Marius' clothes and have an aristocratic feel. I couldn't keep up with the situation, but when I looked closely, Camilo was also in good attire. So, what are you trying to do by making me wear this? It can't be you want me to go home like this, right? When I asked them with an indignant look, Marius replied without even trying to stop his laughter. After this, I'm going to confront my brother and I want you to go with me. Chapter 58, Start of Confrontation. I changed my clothes, or rather, I was forced to change clothes. I was being rocked inside the carriage with Marius and Camilo. I still have that indignant look though. Thankfully I was not seen by Samir and Reich in this appearance. Don't get angry. Don't you want to see the fake one? Camilo intervenes. I told you I don't want to see it. The heirloom which is bestowed by King would be nothing more than that, but if asked if I'm interested, of course, I would be. This is my request. I've involved you guys, so I want you two to know what the result is. Marius said so. I have no objection to that. So why did I have to wear this outfit? That's the only thing I'm stuck on. I can't let them know that there's a blacksmith present in such place, so I need to cover it up. I think it's silly, but I still dressed you up as a noble. Marius replied. Well, Izu is supposed to be my guest from the north. It seems that Karl will bring some people with him too, so it shouldn't be a problem to bring guests with me. Knowing Karl, it would be convenient for him if he could declare the reclamation of the sword in the presence of a third party. The same is true for Camilo. He's expecting that the event will spread on the peddler's information network. Otherwise, Karl wouldn't allow himself to be in the same presence with a peddler, you see. I see. That peddler is probably Karl's term, not Marius. Marius is supposed to be the next count, but for a nobleman, he is progressive. Since he was once a guard in the town, he could see various people. Did that experience take effect on him? To say that it's better to be a merchant and that blacksmiths are no good, is not something that you can't understand considering the spread of information. You mean, that's where it'll all backfire? It's like that. Being seen by me, a third party, and by Camilo, a peddler with an information network, would only result in spreading Carl's failure. Carl bringing in friends and acquaintances has the same effect. I hope he will accept it easily. I couldn't help thinking about it. Eventually, we arrived at a large mansion. Is this the residence of the Count Earl? This is Lord Menzel's villa. Marius informs me, but it's a name I'm not familiar with. Lord Menzel is the Marquis of this city. Camilo followed up. Is a Marquis one level higher than a Count? Then I came to a great place. My father was an old acquaintance of Lord Menzel. He was younger than my father, but he was friendly. That's why he was also entrusted with the ruling on this matter. It was Marius who spoke. So that's how it is. If it's the Marquis, he might be able to report to the king directly. We get off the carriage once we're inside the mansion. Perhaps he's a servant here. A polite young man guides us and takes us to a large room. When we came in, no one else was in the room yet. Marius sat down and we sit down beside him. I'm not sure about the seating order, but it doesn't seem to be much different from my previous world. The real heirloom sword is wrapped in a cloth and placed beside Marius. After a little while, 3 men came in. One of them has a fearless smile. He somehow resembles Marius. So that's Carl. He's not particularly villain-looking. I wonder if he just happened to be blinded by greed. The other 2 are probably people with a certain position. Carl and his companions sit down facing us. Until Carl arrived, Marius was chatting with us in a whisper, but as soon as he came in, he shut his mouth and remained silent. Some more time after that, a middle-aged man in luxurious clothes came in. He has a strong build with his mustache and hair trimmed neatly. He should be Marquis Menzel. We all stand up at once. After the Marquis sat in the seat of honor, he urged us to sit down. Well then, regarding the matter about the heirloom sword stolen from the Earl family, Carl was able to get it back, is that right? The Marquis asks Carl and his companions. It's a low and deep voice that is no different from the image you'll feel seeing his strong build. It makes me think that most human beings will tremble if yelled at by such voice. Yes. It was the work of a thief near the border, but I managed to get it back yesterday. Carl has a higher but calm voice. He put out a long item, wrapped in cloth. It was the sword. As Marius said, it's sheathed in a simple scabbard with little ornate decoration. The same is true for the patterns on the sword guard. It can be seen that they are made by the hands of a good craftsman. So what do you want me to do? There shouldn't be a problem if you get back what you've lost, right? Isn't it all settled if Marius over there succeeds Count Earl? The Marquis replied back to Carl. The Marquis doesn't seem to have a very good impression on Carl, or is he originally like this? No, I don't think that someone who has had the heirloom stolen under his nose and just stand by and do nothing is suitable to be the head of the Count family. Carl argues while taking a glimpse at Marius. Has it started? Hearing such words, the Marquis began to ponder. I can't understand what Carl is saying. If a person, who just stand by and does nothing even if something important was stolen in his house, was to be deemed suitable as the head of a decent or high-ranked house, that in itself would be suspicious. The higher ranked the family is, the more people are involved. The lives of the people of the territory, of course, depend on the patriarch. The patriarch needs to have the ability to solve these difficulties, and Marius couldn't show it this time. Of course, it's only true if the heirloom was really stolen. It's a different story if they collude with the thieves. But it is impossible for us to prove otherwise. I think it's possible that Karl killed the thieves he brought in. In that case, Karl's story that the heirloom was stolen, so I searched for the whereabouts of the thieves, killed them, and recovered them is seemingly consistent, and above all, it's not a lie. But we also have a trump card. This is a tightrope walk here, but this is a trump card that Karl wouldn't expect. Marius opens his mouth. Can't I say something? I don't mind. Say it. The Marquise urged. I seemed to be leisurely because that heirloom was a fake. I had the real thing at hand, so I thought I should slowly hunt down the thieves. Though I'm reflecting if it seems that I was just standing by and doing nothing, but please be aware of the difference between cleaning up quickly and slowly cornering them then capturing them at once. Ho-oh! The Marquise raised an eyebrow at Marius' counterattack. There was a clattering noise, and when I looked at it, Karl stood up unexpectedly. Here is the real one. Marius unwrapped the cloth he put beside him and revealed a sword sheathed in a scabbard. The real sword that I forged. Chapter 59, Conclusion. That can't be true. Karl shouts out loud. Actually, it shouldn't be, so that's expected. Karl, calm down. The Marquise spoke to Karl. Karl sits down reluctantly. Looking at the two people accompanying him, one is simply surprised, but the other looked bitter. It seems that he did not tell the exact details of the matter to the one who looked surprised. It can't be said that he was fortunate in a sense. The man with the bitter expression is dressed like a noble. Considering that he's a noble, if he doesn't know how to hide his real feelings, he'll surely be killed in no time if he goes to a place where conspiracy swirls. Then, what do you mean by real one? The Marquise asked Marius. Yes. Actually, I only found this out from the document left by my father. In reality, during private ceremonies, the Immerl family prepares a fake to be used in public, but there's actually a real one. If there is a serious affair in the kingdom, the one who succeeds the family will take the real thing and help face the national crisis. That's what the document left by my father says so. Marius took out a paper, probably parchment, from his bosom and presented it to the Marquise. The Marquise receives it and reads it. It's definitely Count Immerl's handwriting. Hearing the Marquise' words, Karl's eyes opened wide. Well, to justify the story, it can't be helped but to forge it cautiously. When it comes to fooling the eyes of an old friend, he must have asked a skillful guy, and that must have been Camilo's job. When I glanced at Camilo, he winked at me. An uncle winks at another middle-aged man. Karl tried to say something, but Marius stood up first. Big brother, when I found this document, you went somewhere else and I haven't had the chance to meet you until today, so I was late to tell you this. I'm very sorry. After saying that, he bows his head. Karl sat down again. Talking about being suspicious, it really is suspicious, but the consistency matches well. In THA, that may be so, but, Karl Dornot, do you have any objections? If none, I would like to report to His Majesty that there is no problem here. The Marquise unknowingly throws words that are equivalent to death penalty for Karl. Now, this matter was settled with that Vigor made you act recklessly, but it was all for recovering the heirloom. That spirit is admirable. It may not be possible to take over the family, but I think that the best thing to do now is to just end it here. Then, while Marius is investigating the cause of his father and brother's death, he can't hide or do his business. Well, after all, I can't just believe that this is a fake and that is the real one. However, Karl wanted to settle it here. It's what he hoped for. Even though it is clearly an act of placing his king in front of the piece placed by Marius. Understood. Let's make a clear proof for that then. Marius said quite casually. It's a proof of how much trust he has in my product, but there's also this side of me that would like him to stop such acts too. How will you do it? It's faster to test it out. May I borrow your garden? I don't mind. Is this okay for you, Karl or not? Yes. Everyone stands up and move to the garden. Karl is no longer hiding his feeling and is openly glaring at Marius. Marius was able to pass it on. Thus, the final confrontation was to take place in the courtyard of the Marquis's house. They both held the heirloom sword, but this doesn't mean they will fight each other. The one I made is being stuck in the ground on the courtyard. Even though it's my work, it gives off this feeling that you'll become the king if you pull it out. Then, a young soldier with a spear in hand approaches there. He is the guard of this mansion, a private army of the Marquis. From now on, he will stab the edge of my sword. If that damages the sword, what I made is a fake. However, as I looked at it, with that tip, my sword can't withstand 50 times, even if the material is just steel. The soldier struck it about 20 times, but the tip of the spear just broke, and the sword I made had no scratches. That's ridiculous. It was Karl who groaned in a low voice. That's right. You can't have something like this in just 1 or 2 days. It's more than expected. The Marquis also praised the sword with admiration. As expected, it is a sword given by His Majesty. It has both beauty and strength. That's right. Isn't it just right to call it the real one? Marius writes on. He had already shown the performance of my sword to begin with. Then, it's Karl Dorner's sword's turn. Yes. Karl similarly stuck his sword into the ground. So the Marquis. Hey! Get another spear! Ordered the soldier from before, but no, that would not be necessary. As soon as Marius said that, he pulled out the real one that was stuck next to Karl's. He then slashed at the fake sword. Without any metallic sound, the fake was just cut off from the middle. The upper half, which was cut off, particularly made a clang sound when it fell. This strength, this sharpness, with it having all these, there is no doubt that this is the real one. What do you think? With a broad grin, Marius declares victory towards the Marquis. Why yes. With such sharpness, if you enter the battlefield, you will be a match for 1,000. This is indeed the real thing. As expected, the Marquis too has not caught up with the events that happened before him. However, if he saw it, there is neither admission nor disapproval. Surprisingly though, he declared which one was the real thing. And with that, since there is no particular problem this time, the succession of the family will proceed as usual. I would like to report this to His Majesty. Is that fine with you, Marius Dorner, Karl Dorner? The Marquis declares after he somewhat recovers. With this, it's over. I want it to end now so I can go home quickly. As I'm thinking of that. Awara! Karl shouted as he dashed towards Marius. He had a knife in his hand. I was able to catch his movement thanks to the cheat, but I can't make it from here. However, at that moment, I caught another move. It's Marius. Marius' right hand, which was holding the sword, flipped up at a tremendous speed. The blade of the sword moved from Karl's left hip to the right shoulder as if nothing was there. It was cut off without a sound. Karl's upper body broke up before he even reached Marius, and with a thud, it fell to the ground. Chapter 60, Clean Up. Your Excellency, it dirtied your garden and I have no excuse for that. Please tell me what my punishment is. Marius bows to the Marquise. Since this area is made up of soil, it will be easy to replace it, but this matter would not end there. The Marquise did not get angry though, and despite such gruesome field, he just laughed and said, "No, you don't have to worry about it. Oh, and, Lord, it's a great sword to be able to defeat the thief you see. Now, Marius is called Lord instead of Dornot. In other words, this means that the Marquise recognized Marius as a count. And the fact that Karl was called a thief meant that by the declaration of the Marquise, he was no longer a member of Imerl family. However, I've shown you our family's disgrace. What if there's such occurrence in the future? Speaking of that, I remember something. Hey, the two of you." The Marquise nods to Marius, who bows again, and speaks to the two people that Karl brought along. "Why yes. What is it?" The two of them still didn't seem to catch up with what had happened. Unlike us, who expected this to some extent, this is completely unexpected to the other side. I forbid you to speak of what happened here. If you leak it out, you should know, right? The Marquise intimidated them with an extremely threatening voice. And as expected, the two trembled and nodded vigorously. Oh, poor guys. All right. Hey, someone come. The Marquise called his servant and had him quickly take care of the two of them. The two were extremely grateful for that. We also left the courtyard and returned to the original room. It seems that the servants of the Marquise family will clean up the rest. It was notable that even for a moment, Marius looked sadly at Karl, who was left behind on that spot. Upon returning to the room, the Marquise and Marius begin a meeting about the future policies. We could have left our seats and the Marquise seemed to want to do that too, but Marius. It pains me to ask this of your Excellency, but they have the right to know everything about the story. He was adamant on that and the Marquise approved it, so we also ended up attending. Firstly, Marius succeeds the Imerl family and inherits the Count title. It seems that this will be done within another week. Even if there is no grand ceremony, there seems to be a private feast, so I have to send Diana back as soon as I get home. I have to work it out with Marius and Camillo later. And the next one is on how to deal with Karl's matter. The corpse will be secretly buried in the Imerl family's graveyard at once, but officially, it will be said that he gains some knowledge and travels around the various regions to assist Marius in the future. It will be passed on to various regions that worry, and investigation is unnecessary because this will be done by hiding his identity in order to get the opinion of the people in each town. Normally, when a person like the Count's family comes to another province, he needs some kind of welcome, but he doesn't need it and he's not a spy, so there's no need to worry. With these simple wrapping up, the Imerl family's mess is now settled. Then, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Yeah. Same here. Marius and the Marquise stand up and shake hands. It's short when summarized, but this is just the right time to conclude this meeting. I'm thinking good grief, but I stand up without showing it on my face. Then the Marquise called out. By the way, Lord's guest, Do you have any knowledge on swordsmanship? With eyes that seem to pierce through, he asks while looking at me. No, I don't have one in particular. I answered while my heart is beating fast. I really want you to stop doing this when I'm feeling relieved after it's all over, you know. A while ago, you were the first one to react to that guy's movements. I thought you were someone with excellent skill. I see. I can somewhat swing the sword for self-defense, but it's not something that can be called swordsmanship. When I answered that, the Marquis's eyes narrowed and the feeling of intimidation increased. Well, if you say so, let's leave it to that. If I have the chance, I'd like to compare with you. No, I'm not very good at it, so please pardon me. I bowed my head while having cold sweat. The Marquis saw that, and he then left the room while laughing. Man, Izu sure is amazing. It was Marius who called out after the Marquis left. The terrifying feeling until a while ago was already gone, so he's now showing treatment towards a friend. Ha! I don't get what was amazing. I'm only shrinking back in fear. At that last moment, the Marquis was quite intimidating, but you fend it off easily, you know. Is that so? Well, I thought it was intimidating. If it's an average person, he can't even say a word. Even me, who was right beside you, was quite threatened, but you didn't have any sign of that and just answered normally. Marius followed up and Camillo also grumbled, making it like it was really such a great thing. His Excellency was a reputable swordsman. He once took command on Great Orc subjugation, and at that time he himself was the vanguard. He probably understands Izu's strength to some extent, that's why he tried to intimidate you like that. Goodness, talk about a bad personality. That is well. He's not a bad person, so don't worry about it. I'll just pass as an undercover guest too. I'll really leave that to you. Like I'll let myself be eyed by troublesome people any more than this. I couldn't help but pray for Marius's good luck. Chapter 61, Return. The three of us left the Marquis's residence and head to Imerle family's mansion. I completed everything, so I want to take off this outfit as soon as possible. After arriving in the capital, I worked at the smithy first, and from there, I went directly to the Duke's residence, so this is my first time to go to the Imerle family's place. The Imerle's residence is smaller than the Marquis's residence, but it is still a mansion with an impressive gate. Camillo and I were led to a well-decorated room, maybe it's the reception room. Marius is not with us right now. Perhaps he's already changing clothes. I also want to change my clothes. As I thought of that, a middle-aged man who seemed to be a servant came. Izu-sama, please go with me. I was the only one called. I walked down the corridor with the servant. The corridor was the same as the one leading up to the reception room, but unlike the image I get in the previous world, there were no vases or armors displayed. There are only tapestries decorating the walls here and there. Shortly after, we arrived at a certain room and the servant opened the door. Please come in, he prompted. I obediently followed his instruction and entered the room. There were few female servants waiting inside. Then door behind me closed shortly after. That being said, it seems unlikely that anything momentous will happen here as my clothes are neatly folded nearby. It must have been tough since you are not used to it, right? I'll help you change your clothes now. A female servant briskly takes off the luxurious clothes. I don't know how to put it on, so it saved me the trouble on taking it off. This morning, I already learned that it would take more time if I resisted badly, so I let them be. I can't wear my own clothes, but since they say they'll dress me too, I let them do it. Perhaps since I'm used to it, changing clothes was completed in a blink of an eye and I turned into my usual villager get-up. This indeed suits me better. That sort of luxurious clothing does not suit me. As I enjoyed the sense of liberation, the female servants giggled. What is it? No, nothing. I think Izu-sama seems to like that appearance in particular. Yeah. I'm just an uncle in town. And you see, this one suits me better, isn't it cool? I said that while smiling, like I'm making fun of it. Yes, indeed. The female servants laughed even more. As I finished changing clothes, I went back to the reception room before with the male servant guiding me. Inside, Marius and Camilo, who also changed into clothes that gives off this more casual feel, were chatting over tea. Oh, you're back. Marius was the first to react. Yeah. When I changed my clothes, I understood the feeling of having stiff shoulders. In addition, I also realized that I'm not suitable to be a noble. I laughed as I replied. Camilo writes on. No doubt about it. No matter which one you look like, I don't feel afraid of you at all. And all three of us laughed. Well, I'm very grateful for you two for this matter. Thank you. Marius bows his head. As I told you before. You've taken care of me a lot when I'm in town, this is a repayment. Right. Aside from Izu, I was also able to make a connection with the Count's family. It's not a big deal and I don't mind it either. I'm very grateful with you saying that. Marius smiles faintly. If you think about it, we hold an important secret of the Count's family. We can't make use of it, but it seems that it was also conveyed that we don't feel like doing something assertively with it. Well then. I can't give a big reward, but I still want to thank you guys with my heart. It would be perfect if you continue to trade with me from now on. Just having a deal with the Count family is more than enough for me. Camilo made a request. It's quite modest, but it's also true that if you're a supplier to the Count family, you'll gain prestige out of it. All right. Let's trade what Camilo is dealing with to the extent that it does not overwhelm the current favor. What about you, Izu? Me. That being said, honestly, the I want this thing is. Ah, right, there was that thing. I want information on rare ores. Not iron ores, but more rare ones. Like mithril. Yes, it's exactly that. When you say information, do you need the real thing? I'm fine with the information you can't get. As for the rest, I'll ask Camilo's help to acquire it. Then, let's set our point of contact. Should I tell Camilo if I find one? Yes. Please do. When I look at Camilo, Camilo nodded back. I proceeded without asking Camilo first, but it seems that he's willing to do it. I'm grateful for that. And, this is a different reward from the one just now. Do receive it without further questions. A small bag is given to me and Camilo. Looking inside, there were several gold coins in it. Hey. I tried to decline, but Marius stared at me and shook his head. It's not good to firmly refuse this then. Okay then, though I'll feel bad, I'll take it. Yeah. Marius nodded this time. After all the talk was over, it was now time to go home, so I asked Marius. By the way, I have to go home to take Diana back. There will be a feast, right? Ah, right. I have to legalize the succession of the title as soon as possible, you see. Ha. For a moment, he was pressed in that reply just now. That tone was close to Marius when he was a god. Well, never mind. All right then, I'll work with Camilo and take her back in 2 to 3 days' time. It's okay, right? Yeah, that's fine with me. I'll leave it to you guys then. Let's keep in touch with each other accordingly. The last meeting is over and I just need to go home. I was away for 3 days, but I missed my home that fast. While restraining my enthusiasm, I left Earl's mansion and set for the road going home. Chapter 62, I'm home. I had to hide on the way here, but I didn't have to do it on my way back. While looking at the scenery in the capital, I am now sitting on the wagon's luggage carrier as we go on the road. The coachman was the clerk at Camilo's store and Camilo was sitting with him on the coachman's stand. In this way, I look like the one keeping an eye on the belongings. It's been a while since we left Earl family's mansion and it's now about noon. As expected, a wide variety of people are coming and going. There are dog-like and cat-like beastmen, there's also a woman with short but firm stature. Along with the equally short man with thick beard next to her, they are probably dwarfs. Other than them, there are also lizardmen. It seems that the race for lizard-like human walking on 2 legs and humans with scales are different. At first glance they look like children, but you can't tell that they are different based from their movements. It's the race referred as Marito, and of course, there are human beings. People with different skin and hair colors are bustling on the road. However, humans do not seem to dislike beastmen. Everyone goes the same way, selling things and buying things naturally. Seeing that somehow made me feel glad. We then passed through a gate. It seems that it is the boundary between the nobles area and the general public. Then we traveled for about half an hour more and then we passed through the main gate of the capital. I didn't see this on the way here, but when I looked at it now, it's huge. It seems that the height is about 6 meters. On the way home, I asked Camilo about it. It seems that when the previous king made peace with the giants, it was built into that size so that the giants could enter, but it is doubtful whether it is true or not. So it seems to be like that. Eventually, I would like to investigate such legend little by little. They did some check on the way in, but going back was almost straightforward. The guard standing there just glanced at us and immediately looked at another wagon behind us. It's not that the guard has bad eyes, it's just that he thinks that we are not suspicious. In fact, when we came here, they did not find anything, so they won't get anywhere if they stopped us on our way back. When we came out of the gate, I could see the road and the river. It's as if a line was drawn using brown and blue crayons in a green carpet. Even at a distance, I can see the river shining under the sun. I can also see that the road in front of us continues beyond the horizon. The green carpet is the short grassy meadows and distant fields. Looking around, when I turned my head, there's a mountain range in the other direction that seems to be quite high. It towers as if it were a wall that protects the area. Position-wise, that river doesn't look like it's flowing from the lake near us. How about the mountains then? Well, I'm not sure because I can't see it from my house. Such scenery continues for a while. The capital then disappears beyond the horizon and the mountains gradually decrease in height, eventually disappearing. It's the road from the capital, so we sometimes pass by someone else, but we basically just run the wagon in the wide area. I eventually got tired looking at the scenery, so I occasionally chat with Camilo. For example, I didn't see any elves in the city. Those elves, they're basically self-sufficient and they don't come out of their village. You'll rarely see them in towns around here. I see. However, if they are here, they go inside. Sometimes, they buy some necessary items, or you can't see the ones who were traveling about to gain skill in combat. Even for a merchant like me who peddled around, in my entire life, I've seen them fewer times compared to the count of the fingers on both of my hands. Some of the stories I read in the previous world seemed to be relatively similar to the human towns here, but in this world, elves seemed to seclude themselves. I've seen quite few races today, and I'd love to see an elf even once. While having such conversation, the area began to turn orange. The wagon's pace is much faster than walking, so we reached the entrance to the forest while the sun is still up in the sky. However, even if I proceed through the forest at this time, it is inevitable that it will be pitch black on the way, so I'll have to ask Camilo to hand over a torch. Maybe they can't reach the town by the time the sun goes down. I got off the wagon with the torch and flint taken from the luggage carrier. I thanked Camilo and we then split up. All right, there's one more step to go. I can't find the direction of my house through my cheat and installed knowledge, so I hurried towards it. I'm still vigilant around my surroundings, but I'm in a hurry, so I'm quite fast. Still, the sun will completely set while I'm on my way, so I hurriedly light up the torch. If I don't do this while I can still see, it will be too late doing it after I can no longer see it. I gained time because I was in a hurry and I walked fast, but now I couldn't walk fast in this dim forest with only a torch at hand. Rather, I can only walk at a slightly slower pace than the usual round trip. I'm in a hurry, but I shouldn't get distracted, so I urgently calmed myself down and proceed through the pitch-black forest. It feels quite eerie. When I go with everyone, we should try to avoid going through here in the middle of the night. When I start to think that the torchlight was about to go off, I finally arrived at my house. Even though I'm hungry, I still feel a little nostalgic. I approached the door of the house unhurriedly. The door opened just when I was about to reach the door in a few steps. Samia, Reich, and Diana are all standing there. I was surprised. I was about to say I'm home just now, but those words didn't go out successfully. But Izu, welcome home. Welcome home, boss. Welcome home, Izu-san. The three of them greeted. I'm home. Feeling my heart filled with warmth, I managed to say what I wanted to say. Chapter 63, Young Lady Returns Home. Everyone was pleased that I returned home safely. Speaking of that, I was so tired and I felt relieved that I'm finally home. I refused the three of them and promised that I'll give a detailed explanation tomorrow. After I dusted off the dirt during the trip, I ate dinner, then I immediately went to bed. The next morning, after we finished breakfast, I described the events in the capital as it is. I'm not sure if I should give details about Carl's end, but since Diana also said that I can't speak of it, I honestly told them about it. I see. Diana was looking down as she listened to me, but she raised her face when she said that. Her eyebrows are knitted together compared to the usual. Until this happened, Carl Onnison was kind to everyone. He used to play with me when he was young. He was on good terms with Father, Rion Onnison, and of course, even with Marius Onnison. Diana gradually speaks up. We listened to her silently. For something like this to happen, Diana covers her face with her hands. Reich and Samia quickly comforted her. Wasn't his relationship with the family originally bad? Was it just on the surface and he was actually saddled with depression? Or did it suddenly happen for some reason? Since it now came to this, I don't need to know it anymore. I'm sorry I lost my composure, Diana said as she somehow calmed down. Don't worry about it. Who would be so calm after being told that your blood-related brother is dead? I don't think I'll be able to get along well with that kind of person either. Besides, it's a different story for whatever we did while we are alive, as once we die, everyone will be the same. This thing will be kept secret when you go back there, so you can mourn as much as you want now. Thank you, Izu-san. Diana smiled. To hide my embarrassment, I just waved my hand. Ah, right. I'll send Diana-san back to the capital first thing tomorrow morning. Eh? Diana spoke with a surprised tone. Well, it's been solved, so it's supposed to be this way. It seems that the trouble has been solved, and with the succession of the title, there will be a feast to be held. Besides, it is impossible for Diana not to appear there, right? That's right. Well, I will attend in that feast too. About that, it would be strange if my guests who came disappeared and just say, it's a farewell, since things were already solved, right? The Marquise will come to the feast too, you see. Is what Marius had said. Since he told me that, I can't help but participate. I'm supposed to join in while sending Diana back. When I said that, Diana responded. Then, you'll have to be away for about 2 to 3 days, right? That's right. Sorry for that, Samia, Reich. No, I don't mind. But, if you don't come back early, Samia will sulk, you know. What the heck are you saying, Reich? While Reich is laughing, Samia flared up with her face flushed. Probably. The place was filled with laughter, then we called it a day. I'm going out tomorrow, so for now, I'll be working as a blacksmith. It's been a few days since I worked in my workshop. Well, maybe it's indeed only a few days, as there's no particular decline in my skill. I was able to make a high-end model like usual. Reich and the others have been working together for the past few days, so they are now creating the general model quickly. This scene looks like a farewell too. After the blacksmithing work, it's time for some training with Diana. I'm not mistaken, her skills definitely improved. At this rate, she may eventually become a swordsman who surpasses me. It's unfortunate that I can't see that, but I hope she'll do her best when she got home. Today's supper will be a little sumptuous. From tomorrow, Samia and Reich will not be able to meet Diana anymore. Perhaps because of that atmosphere, or because they became friends while I was away, the three of them were having dinner while talking brightly like never before. The next morning, Diana and I, who finished the series of morning routines earlier than usual, started walking in the forest. I'm the one carrying Diana's luggage. Initially, it was a sudden escape, so she doesn't have much luggage, and with my strength, it is rather light. We were able to get out of the forest much earlier than when I went to the capital. Camilo's wagon arrived not long after we left the forest. Camilo and a clerk are sitting on the coachman's stand. Me and Diana get on the luggage carrier as the wagon stopped. Hey! Oh! Diana-san, the ride may not be that comfortable, so please forgive me. No, don't put it that way. You are even willing to take us on board. Besides, you've taken care of my brother, so I'm indebted to you. Thank you. No, it's nothing. We merchants are stingy, so to say. If there's profit, we'll take part on it. Camilo humbly said that. It's rare to see him like that, so I can't help but grin, and when Camilo saw me. Izu, you better remember this later. And so he threatens. I shake my shoulders and shrink my body and said, oh, scary. I'm scared. The carriage then departed with laughter. We reached the capital and nothing happened along the way. There was an inspection when we entered at the gate, but probably because of the token that Camilo showed, the checking maid was just a quick glance. I then asked Camilo what he just showed. Oh, that. It's a merchant's token. As a regular tradesman of the Earl's house, it's useful in many ways. It appears to be so. Well, Camilo has the backing of the Count's family now. I'm sure he will continue to make good use of that area in the future. In about an hour, we passed through another gate. Again, the token was very powerful, and then we arrived at Earl's residence, one of the few places I know in the capital. The wagon stopped and I get off first. While holding out my hand. Please, Diana, oh how's Amma? I joked. What are you talking about? With a look of surprise and anger, she took my hand firmly and got off the wagon. Well, let's leave the rest to the people in this house. After I unloaded Diana's luggage and look at Diana, she is now surrounded by the female servants that I saw before, and she looked pleased to have returned home. Well, it has been a long time. I gave the luggage to the servant who crowded over it, then another servant took me inside. Chapter 64, Welcome Home. Marius was waiting in the room where I and Camilo was led to. It's only been about 2 days, but he looks haggard. It looks like you're very tired. HN. Yeah, even though I'll hold a feast with only a very limited number of people, prior to the audience with His Majesty, I needed to prepare the report regarding the succession, and with the other procedure for succession, it has really been hectic. That indeed seems to be tough. Nobles have a lot to do as nobles. I don't think I can do that again. By the way, when will you hold the feast? Tomorrow. Tomorrow. It's a lot early. Since my father and brother passed away, it took a long time for me to inherit the title. Usually, there would be some interval before the feast, but I can't do that this time. It is necessary to establish the succession as a well-known fact as soon as possible. That's indeed such a troublesome matter for us ordinary people. Then, we will attend the feast tomorrow and return the day after tomorrow, right? That's right. Until then, enjoy your time here. All right, we'll be in your care. Then Marius went out. After that, the servant led us again. Camilo and I are guided to the room prepared for the guests. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to tell us. I understand. Thank you very much. The servant went out with a bow. The desk is equipped with a chair and the beds are with complete setup. The walls are also covered with tapestries. The tapestry depicts a battle somewhere. Knights in armor are drawn on the ally side, and monsters, probably, are drawn for the enemy's side, and they had this hair-raising appearance. The fact that a person will be given a sword upon receiving a title is probably triggered by the state of such battle. I did not feel ashamed making that fake sword, which has become one man's proof of honor after going through such battle. There must be more to it than being just a sword. I couldn't think of any other good means, but was it really okay to break it with my own hands? If he hasn't thrown it away somewhere yet and kept it instead, I would like to at least keep it at my own home. Well, even by doing so, that can't atone for my sin. Anyways, I should discuss it with Marius later. Before dinner, the servant who guided us to the room, he seemed to introduce himself as Bomansan. When I asked his name, said, Diana Ohausamar is calling for you, will you please follow me? He asked meekly, so I decided to follow. Perhaps we'll do it here too. I was taken to the courtyard where Diana, in easy-to-move clothes, was waiting with 2 wooden swords. Do we still need to do it here? Of course. Diana grins and says so. You should stop with that because it's not ladylike, you know. Oh well, fine then. Let's get started. After the tip of our swords clinked and we gave a bow, we start to leave a gap between us and proceed with the training as usual. It's been about half an hour in total, so once I stopped, Diana said while panting. Ha, ha. Izo-san, at least once, can't you fight me seriously? Are you being serious? Well, today will also be the last one. I guess it's okay if it's just this once. Alright then, let's end this. Yes. No matter where I hit, Diana parries the sword calmly. After confirming that, I seriously break into her defense and seriously hit her. Diana completely stayed still. I stopped my wooden sword just before it lands on her neck. This is me being serious. I couldn't see it at all. Diana, who told me that, looks crestfallen as she lowered her shoulder. Your skills have remarkably improved in these past few days, you know. If you train continuously, you can aim for as much as you want. I followed up while pulling back my sword. Diana's expression suddenly brightens. For real. She was overjoyed, and when I thought that I couldn't see that smile anymore, I felt that my chest tightened. After the training and when I finished taking a bath, it's dinner time. Since there are only the Earl's family members for today's meal, we had a relaxing dinner. The topic of conversation is mostly about the experiences Diana had while she was staying at my house, and Marius looked happy while listening to it. Camilo on the other hand was impressed with the increase I made in the meantime. Then the night went on. The next day, Marius went to report to His Majesty first thing in the morning. It seems that the procedure needed by the record keeper has been completed. In this country, to totally complete the succession of the title, one needs to report to His Majesty. Then after that would be the feast at one's residence. The servants, including Boman-san, seem to be busy. Although it's a private one, it's still a feast with guests invited, so it is necessary to prepare properly. We are still one of the guests, but since the preparation for the feast is the priority, breakfast and lunch will be included in the preparation for the dinner party. In short, I got someone to prepare my meals. Well, I'm also reluctant to have a proper one prepared separately for me. At first, Boman-san and the other servants were trying to prepare it, but I refused them. In the meantime, I spend time wandering around the mansion so that I won't get in their way. I haven't seen Diana yet today. Apparently, she also came with Marius and had an audience with His Majesty. I felt that it's little unfortunate. I don't know how successful our cooperation was, but the preparations for the feast went on quietly and it was all set for the gathering. A large table is placed in Earl House's dining hall and it is arranged in a way that we are sitting around it. The food is placed in the center and the servants are handing out wine cups containing wine poured out from the barrels. Marius stands up when all the guests are gathered and the wine cups are given to everyone. He is dressed in clothes with elaborate embroidery. That is probably the formal wear of the head of the family. Everyone, thank you very much for coming to this feast today. A sonorous voice echoes in the dining room. Today, I, Marius Albert Earl, succeeded the Count's title and the Earl House. The guests then give a round of applause. When I took a glance, the Marquise was also applauding. Then, let's toast to the future prosperity of the Earl family and the unchanging connection with everyone. Cheers! Everyone then sips on the wine glass. It's a pretty good wine. And with this, officially and with everyone's recognition, Marius finally became the Count and head of the Earl House. When I think about it, I felt happier for that compared to the joy given by the alcohol. The feast's banquet goes on quietly. The servants serve the food in the center and distribute it to each person. It's interesting because there are various dishes that I didn't see in town. I think I can imitate some of them, and when I get home, I'll make them for Samia and Reich. When the banquet is over, it's time for the ball. Although it is not a prominent one, it seems that there is a rule that during a feast, one needs to hold a banquet and a ball. When a person's prestige becomes higher, it will be held separately. However, although it is called a ball, it is not the case where you need to dance brilliantly despite having wine and rice stuffed in your stomach. Ball is just the term for it, but it is actually an event where one talks while having a light drink. There I found Diana. Until a while ago, someone was talking to her every now and then, but now, it seems that she got a break. Can I disturb you for a bit? Oh, Izu-san, that's a nice outfit you got there. That's right. Of course, I'm also wearing that noble-like clothing. The Marquise is here too, besides, I'm here as Marius' official northerner friend. In other words, I'm supposed to be a person with descent position in the north. My shoulders are so stiff now, I said with a bitter smile. Well, that bitter smile does not hide my true feeling either. Diana-san too, that dress looks good on you. Referring to you as the rose in the family is indeed fitting. Well, it's such an event, so Diana naturally dressed properly too. The dress is based on red, but the not-so-gaudy and low-key embroidery suits her well. You're flattering me. Diana replied with her face flushed. I'm not sure if it's because of alcohol or if she's feeling shy though. I'm being serious. It really suits you. But, it's a pity, as I guess this is our farewell hat. Oh. I wonder about that. Diana says with a mischievous smile. Hey, just now. When I tried to ask about the meaning of those words, Diana had to deal with another person, and the Marquise also approached me. I made full use of my installed knowledge while talking to the Marquise, and I tried not to have a perfunctory conversation so as not to break the setting of being someone from the north. Well, it will not be good if I talk too much and made a mistake here. However, he is a nice old man to talk with. On his way out, he tapped my shoulder and said, I'll leave the Emerl house in your care. I was so surprised when he said that. In the end, it was only that one time that I was able to talk to Diana, and the feast was then over. The guests were divided into those going home and those returning to their prepared room. I returned to the room and had my clothes changed. And after that, partly because I was drunk, I fell asleep immediately. The next morning, it was finally time to get everything done and go home. It's unlikely that I'll come to the capital soon. I may be able to do some errands that come very occasionally, and I hope I can come to say hello at that time. I didn't have any luggage to bring, so I went to Camilo's wagon as soon as possible. Camilo, Marius, and the servants were already waiting at the wagon. Diana is not here, probably because it's still early in the morning. Izu, thank you very much for this time. What are you saying? As I had said before, I owed you one in the town. Become a good lord. Marius and I firmly shake hands. All right, what will you do with the fake one? Oh, that. Since I cut it in half, I loaded it in the wagon and I'll have you to fix it. So he'll have it fixed. In that case, even if it stay in this house, it will be fine, huh? I'll give it back after I fixed it then. No, just leave it at your place. Will that be all right? Yeah. It will be odd if I keep something that turns out to be fake, you see. Well, that's all because of the circumstances that had happened. Actually, the real one is with me. I understand that sentiment well, and I have no problem if he decides on that. All right. I'll take care of it after fixing it up. I'll leave it to you. Oh, and there's another thing I want you to keep, it's in the same box, so I'll leave that to you too. A weapon. Well, it's something like that. It's hard to handle, you see. Hey, I understand. I'll take responsibility for that as well. Do whatever you want for both of them, I won't mind. I understand. Just say my regards to Diana-san. Then I got into the wagon's luggage carrier and the wagon started to move. I waved my hand to the people of the Imurl house that's getting smaller and bid goodbye to Imurl's mansion. And just like that, we were able to leave the capital safely. On the way home, I want to talk to Camilo about something, but he appears to be distracted. Even if I tried to ask why he's distracted, he would just evasively reply, so I just continued with what I'm talking about. Eventually, afternoon, we finally arrive at the entrance of the forest. I'll temporarily part with Camilo from here. Well, that's because I'll still be going to his store for the wholesale. Please unload your luggage before you go home. I just remember about that when Camilo told me. That's right, there was something I need to keep. Which box? It's the box right behind the coachman's stand. Is this it? I tried to open the box as I was told. Oh, this box is surely. When I opened the lid of the box, there was a cloth wrap and a woman was holding it. The woman was no other than Diana. Diana! I screamed involuntarily. I also forgot to attach sand to it. I'm here. Diana laughs full of playfulness. No, saying I'm here is, will your house be okay with this? I've got a letter from my brother about that. This is it. I received the letter that Diana gave me. What was written there is as follows. Hi Izu. If you are reading this, it means that my, Diana and Camilo's plan was a success. It's a pity that I can't see your surprised face, but it can't be helped. Just give it up. By the way, she is the other item I left in your care. Since I became a count, her value goes up at once. She's originally a member of a count family, but having 3 older brothers, unfortunately, her value will be different if there's only one male in the family. Because of that, various troublesome things may occur. Can you accept her as a way to keep her away from it? I see. It's not that I don't understand, but he's using high-handed method, huh? P.S. Diana can't do what she really wanted to, and I won't mind. There was such a sentence, but I decided to ignore it. Ah, good grief. Well, it will be nice if I can see her smile like that time once again. Well, it can't be helped since you've already come this far. Shall we go home together then? Yes, thank you. Diana smiles brilliantly and came out of the box. I also took out the broken fake sword and Diana's luggage from the box, got off the wagon, waved my hand and split up with Camilo. I carried the luggage, but it's not too heavy, so we quickly go through the woods. Both of us have few words to say, but neither one of us is in a bad mood. At least, I just don't know what to talk about. After walking for a while, we arrived in front of the house. Am I a bother? Diana stops and mutters, so. Bother? If I think that way, I'll be sending you back there. Really? That's for sure. Since I'm a clumsy and stubborn blacksmith, you see. I don't have the courage to lie at times like this. Oh, I see, certainly. Don't just agree on that part. Diana giggles. Hey, let's go inside now. Izu-san, you see. Just Izu, is fine. Since you will be part of our family, you don't need to add san anymore. Okay, I understand, Izu. That's better. I then start walking towards the door of the house first. Izu. Diana called out from behind. Then I looked back. I'm home. I laughed and replied. Welcome home, Diana.